Oh, man. Oh, look at this. The Fearsome Six. This is the biggest show we have had in a while. Well, it was until you spoke. We've got a big crew. Let's see if the Twitter algorithm helps our algorithm and we get more viewers. That'd be fantastic. Maybe all of a sudden Facebook's like, what if Elon buys me? Anyways, we've got a few special guests on this episode. Kevin is back from studying to be a doctor. I mean, something or another, lawyer maybe, who knows. They're both tend to be assholes in 2022, and we've got a special guest that I am so insanely excited to have back. Liberal Jay, ladies and gentlemen, is back in the house. Jay, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, and while you're at it, guys, share the episode, comment where you're watching from, all the good stuff. Go ahead.
I think it's funny that you always refer to me as Liberal Jay when I'm not really that liberal as it relates to the general public. I'm liberal for this.
You are so liberal, buddy.
I'm really not. I'm more like an old school Democrat.
You're a classic liberal.
No. I'm glad it's good to be back. I don't think I'm going to piss anybody off tonight. We're probably going to agree on a bunch of stuff.
Really? Okay.
I doubt it.
For those that saw the skinny on this show, there's going to be some added stuff. We are going to talk a little bit about the Ministry of Truth, and we are also going to Suni, if you want to bring up that police shooting, if you want to, if we get to it, we'll talk about that. Then also, as always, now that we have a couple things before I get into thankful to the My Patriot Supply people. First off, there's going to be something coming up very, very soon. If you own a business, I'll have it as an affiliate next week. If you own a business and got PPP and didn't get the other one, like ERC or whatever it is, we have a way to help you actually get that and to not spend any money on it. And it's literally eligible for $26,000 of, can't call it free, but free money, $26,000 per employee you had. It's an employment relief, and it used to only be able to get PPP in that. So if you do own a business, you want to reach out early, but next week I'll talk a little bit more about it, and you guys can actually connect and make some money. It takes about 6 to 8 months, so you really don't have to do anything but fill some stuff out. Anyways, with that said, guys, as we know, April is upon us. May is just about here, and we are facing more threats than ever before. When our leaders warn of global food shortages, including the United States, it's time to act. So prepare with BTC.com and get your long-term emergency food storage from My Patriot Supply when you can. We don't know when more empty store shelves may hit formula. I don't know if they have it on there, but there's like no formula anyplace from what I'm hearing right now. My Patriot Supply is by far the #1 preparedness company to rely on with millions of satisfied customers. If you act now, you save $150. That special usually is monthly, and I know we're about to hit May, so make sure you get that. Each month is different. Don't know what it'll be, but you'll get a 3-month food emergency kit. I'm not going to go any further, but just go to preparewithbtc.com. I actually have a 72-hour kit I finally got in the mail today. So here it is right here.
Oh, there it is.
So I'm not just an affiliate. I'm also a user as well. I might snack on it while we're here because I'm a little bit hungry. That's it on that, guys. I'm going to go ahead and have you guys share this episode out. Hit the like button. Anybody else got anything fun going on before we kick the tires, light the fires? Suni's on crutches.
I'm crippled.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Suni's on the
injured. You can't say crippled. You have to say walking disabled.
You're different.
Less than able.
You're a body moron, motor moron, as we call it.
I like that. I'm gonna start saying that.
Body moron.
A motor moron, as we call it.
Motor moron.
No,
I thought that I was like
body
17 again, and I could do like crossovers up my stairs, and I was like, this ain't happening. And I had to go to the doctor twice, and they finally gave me medicine. They literally gave me Motrin.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a meniscus tear. Motrin ain't doing nothing for my knee, man. I went back in there like, look, you need to give me something or it's going to be a problem because I can't get an appointment till May. So I'm like bedridden, stuck in the house, can't really do much. It sucks.
That is a bummer.
Can't get an appointment till May. That sounds like socialized medicine.
It is.
It's the
That's what it is.
The number one treatment.
People.
When I was in the Army, the number one treatment for every ailment was water and take a knee, drink water, and take some Motrin. There you go.
Let me show you guys. Hold on.
In Puerto Rican households, it's Vicks. We cure everything with Vicks.
In
Windex in the black
Windex. There we go.
Robitussin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
dude. Or your parents.
Spray some Windex on it. You'll be all right. That's what my grandma used to tell me.
Windex, really?
Or take
Hey,
a bath
look.
and bleach.
This is what you get in the military, all right? 800 milligram ibuprofen.
There
This
you
is
go.
all you're gonna get.
That's all you need.
Well, in certain college campuses are giving out Narcan, so there's that. All right. So I think what about weed? You're not even allowed to have weed over there anymore, are you?
No, so I can't smoke weed.
You got busted. You got
But,
busted.
but I thought you had like impersonation weed, like knockoff weed.
Damn,
not
Mo, why
the
you
same.
telling on me, bro? We on YouTube.
You said, listen, I'm Forte, but it's not real weed. It's faux weed.
Bro, this is all
What, oregano? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
Oregano.
it's oregano.
Yeah. Before we do the song and dance for our Texas
bad.
followers, if you're in the DFW area, I will be. Is that popping up or not? There it is. April 30th. So this Saturday, if you guys want to check it out, I'm going to be on the
Your
Rico No
mom
Suave show. So come meet me. The first 10 people are going to get a Let's Go Brandon hat. That's right. A Let's Go Brandon dad hat. Jay's like, I haven't been on the show in a while, and this is the cheesiest intro in history. So the name of the bar is Your Mom's House. And yeah, join us
The
there.
next,
People are like,
the
what?
next 10 people get a bit of that Glock 3000 from Tony over there.
The Glock. I don't even know what you're talking about.
What
Let's
is
go.
that?
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know. All right, it is time for episode number 96 of Truth Will Set You Free. We are almost at 100 this week's show. We're discussing Elon Musk closing on Twitter. Is this good, evil? Is he the Antichrist, the Savior? No. We're going to talk about the Don't Say Gay bill fallout with teachers leaving in Florida. We're going to talk Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Trump's new statement in his rally, which Shuni's going to play the video for, and not a lot of us have seen it yet. Not all of us have seen it. His things regarding freedoms, jab, parental rights, etc. Talk a little bit about the coach that lost his job due to prayer. The Supreme Court is now hearing the case. And, of course, our man from Utah, Kaecey's going to give a little ditty about the local politics there and, whatever else we can come up with. I know we've got the Ministry of Defense. We've got some other things, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Truth. So, yeah, and we have the return of, quote, unquote, Liberal J.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, let's go ahead and get the party started. I feel like Elon has got to be the top subject of the day. You know what? I'm going to lead into Elon with obviously stock market stuff, and then we'll get into Elon. If anybody's been paying attention, the stock market is pretty much the same as it was when Biden took office. Right now, things have dropped down. As of a couple days ago, the S&P was up 9%. From January of 2021, the Dow was up 7% and NASDAQ was down 7%, which means that we have now balanced out with inflation. The last remaining economic indicator that was positive for Biden was the Dow. As much as I always talked about that the Dow has nothing to do with the president in their first couple of years, the Democrats were at least holding on to that stronghold of, well, the Dow's doing good. The Dow is not doing good. And weird thing is the media is not talking about it, which scares me to death. So inflation, I don't even want to know what the April numbers are going to be. But if you look at all the earnings reports coming through, and I think today was an important day because you saw Amazon for the first time in 7 years not hit their numbers. That is the first time they have shown a decrease in their earnings. And I know that things were big during COVID, but fact is, I believe as though consumer spending is down and we are about to be in a major recession. So that is the thing that I feel like we're all of a sudden being pulled away from, the distraction with Elon Musk buying Twitter. But this is the first time where I'm like, I don't know if we're going to be bouncing back. I'm watching the daily numbers on the Dow, the NASDAQ, and we are not in good shape. Not to be a doomsdayer, things are not looking good.
Well, it doesn't help that
that
the GDP report that came out yesterday is negative 1.4% for the first quarter of 2022. That is not a good thing. That's a huge sign.
And it's not getting any better because traditionally, the answer to a problem like this is to drop interest rates. But because inflation is also skyrocketing, you have to raise interest rates to stop the inflation, but that's going to stagnate the economy. So it's like, because of their boneheaded reluctance to just say, hey, look, everyone, we're through this. Time to end the pause on repayment of student loan debt. Time to end the added bonuses for unemployment. People you guys got to get back out there and start working it. Rather than doing that, they're just like, oh, no. Keep pushing, kicking this can down the road past the 2022 midterms, whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, Jay, I know you pay a little bit of attention to stocks and different things like that. What are your thoughts and your perspective on the current economic situation? Is this the beginning of the end, or are we still just in another one of these spikes back and forth?
I tend to just try to middle a lot of this stuff anyways. I don't try to get too high or too low on anything. None of the indicators are great. As a matter of fact, oddly enough, it's funny to talk about. The Dow's up today. The Dow had a good day today. That obviously doesn't show anything trending over the last 6 months or so. I think it's 3 months. It's been kind of not going so great. But I don't know. I think I agree that it's probably time to start shutting the spigot off with some of these economic relief programs. But I think we wait and see. Inflation obviously has had a major impact on everything across the board. The product shortages you were talking about a little while ago. Interest rates are probably going to go up, but I don't think it's time to panic just yet. The government has pulled levers on things like this for decades and decades and decades. So regardless of the trust you have in the current administration, I don't think panic helps anybody. The stock market is all about how we feel anyways, right? To some extent. So I don't know that it's time to start going, light the house on fire because of a bad couple of months,
I have a couple questions for the whole group. So how do we feel the shutdowns currently going on in Shanghai are playing into all of this? And Jay, this one's more for you specifically. How familiar are you with modern monetary theory? And do you think we are seeing kind of one of the biggest tests it's ever really been put to right now?
Sure. I don't know anything about modern monetary theory. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, on to the next.
No worries.
I don't know. I don't know much either.
So just a brief overview. The way our government and our economy is run is based on modern monetary theory. The idea being, if your government has the dominant economy, you never actually have to worry about spending. Money doesn't, if you have the reserve currency, which we do, and your economy continues to grow, it doesn't actually matter how much money you spend, quote unquote. You can just keep diving into debt. It doesn't matter. You can keep pushing through it. Government spending really has no upward limit, which is kind of what we're seeing. And so modern monetary theory is more of the neoliberal style of governance. It's what a lot of our politicians have applied. It's what the Fed use. It's the guiding principle of the Fed. And it's really never been put to the actual test to prove whether it's a viable way of going. We're $30 trillion in debt. This is probably about the biggest test it's ever going to see.
So I have to get my charger on my computer because as I mentioned earlier, things weren't going overly smoothly today. I do want to go into the housing market. So Kevin, if you can continue to sound like an intelligent college student and continue to go into modern monetary theory about, words that nobody understands. And I don't know what they're teaching in college, but God bless. Give me about 38 seconds to go get my charger. How's that? All right.
Oh, geez.
I got you. So, because this is incredibly important to understand because it kind of explains why we're in this predicament, why we have such high debt, why the politicians seem to not care about government spending. The idea being is that your currency doesn't have to be backed by anything. As long as you're putting that money, quote unquote, into the economy, and your economy is number one. We have number one economy in Kazakhstan. The idea is you can spend basically into oblivion because it's really the strength of your economy that matters. But that required us moving away from the gold standard. Our money doesn't really have a backing. We have the petrodollar, but even that is seeing some challenge from the petrodollar being that all oil transactions occur using the US dollar. And so what it comes down to is we're kind of putting it to a test like it's never been seen. I know it's going to fail. It does not make any sense that your currency can have no backing to it. But what we're seeing right now is the effects of what happens when it's hit with a real stressor, and they just printed more money than an economy can possibly handle. I don't know about you guys. You guys remember when the debt was under $10 trillion, right?
Sure.
It was Obama.
It wasn't.
Obama.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was under Obama. We're at $34 trillion. There is no amount of modern monetary theory that can justify it, but they're going to continue to roll with it because it means the government has no upward limit on how much money it can spend.
How would you stop it at this point anyhow? You know what I mean? How do you flip the system?
Well, what's going to take is understanding that scarcity is a necessity in any kind of economy. Scarcity is something that must exist, because if there is not some kind of tangible scarcity to the dollar you hold in your hand, it has no value beyond just saying that this is our economy. So imagine that the U.S. economy equals like 100 units of something. Right? You have 100 units of the U.S. economy. However many U.S. dollars exist represents that 100 units. And if it's only 100 U.S. dollars, you own 1 unit of the U.S. economy if you hold a dollar. But if it's 34 trillion, imagine how little value that singular dollar you hold is.
How are you guys not asleep yet? How is this still going on? Jesus.
Dude, I don't know. I was going to just say like balls really quick.
If you guys don't understand the economy, then we shouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah,
seriously.
But you guys, you wonder why we have such big debt.
Yeah.
This is why.
Yeah.
It's why.
This is epic. Well done, Mo. That's pretty funny.
Wow.
Drop one if you're bored, but our country's turning into Venezuela, but that's okay.
Yeah, true. Hey,
No, I mean, listen,
I
it's important, but we got to talk about entertaining shit.
gotta have a little bit of fun. So
I know
here's
we gotta
the-
have some fun.
I do want to go.
We got other topics that we'll talk about.
Well, yeah. Hold on one sec. Let me get. Where are we? 8. Where was the housing market? So this is just something I want to point out, because for the first time during a major recession, I think our housing. This is why it's even a bigger problem. I think it's going to be even a bigger issue for the middle class. Is the housing markets right now in large numbers, and I mentioned this during the last show, are being bought by major institutional banks like Chase, which is weird. It never been done before.
BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Absolutely. So
Those are the three.
So what's going to happen if we hit another recession? At least during the recessions, rent prices go down, and housing people, at least the middle class, if you're doing halfway decent, can buy a home. And you can buy things pennies on the dollar, or take advantage of it, and have individual capitalism work out. Unfortunately, in this case, I don't think we're going to see that. We are going to see housing be ridiculously expensive, and this is where we're going to run into a risk of kind of the end of the middle class as we know it. And I know people said that during Trump's presidency, and even more so now. The actual statistics are pointing more towards that.
I love Jay when I bring this up around Jay, so I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Is there an agenda here amongst people to acquire properties to be able to keep their values high and protect their assets?
What do you mean? Do you mean the banks doing that?
Yeah.
I think the banks are hedging their bets, right? I mean, the banks took a bath. I mean, the banks were a major cause of our last recession, right? By risky behavior.
The
So I think I think the banks had something to do with it.
Yeah, the banks were involved in it, but
The government told the banks to start giving out risky loans. The banks did not want to do it.
Right?
The banks did not want to do it. The government incentivized it.
The banks wanted to do it once they were seeing giant bonuses every year with all that. Yeah, I think they're hedging their bets. That's just my opinion. I don't have any data to back that up. But if I'm JP Morgan Chase or whoever, for example, and I know what happened in 2008, and I have an opportunity to get ahead of that, to your point, to hold value, or to even to falsely inflate the value of things in the middle of a recession, that's probably why they're doing. I don't blame them. They're a for-profit business. I don't blame them for doing it.
Should that be allowed?
That's a slippery slope, dude. I don't know. There are smarter people than me that would know whether that should be allowed. I honestly, I can't answer that. I have no idea whether that's. Well, I mean, it's legal, obviously. Whether it's ethical for them to be able to do it, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, no. From your stance, do you think there should be a cap or a limit there somewhere
on how much property a private company, person, etc., can hold?
Yes.
No.
No.
I don't think there should be a cap on that. No.
So why does Bill Gates own so much land?
Why does who?
Bill Gates owns so much land.
It's smart.
I mean,
scarcity.
it's a different question.
It's all the same thing. He's buying it under a company. It's the same thing as here in Utah. The LDS Church, or Mormon Church, owns a crap ton of land, and they're doing the same thing. They own a crap ton, and
Can I
they
ask a
sell it
question?
back for
Yes.
an extreme amount of money. Yeah, go ahead, Mo.
I don't know if this has to do with exactly what you guys were talking about, what you said, Bill Gates and him buying up land. I was curious because I was reading about the 18 food processing plants that have burned down
Yes.
in the last several months, which is like really weird. They're all
Yeah.
like chicken farms and things like that. And it appears that Bill Gates is the largest owner of farmland in the United States.
Well,
And I was
that
like-
would make sense. That would
Right.
make sense.
Right. So like I was thinking to myself, I was like, why would all these places be burning down and like no big deal is being made about it? And I was thinking to myself, could it be possible that Bill Gates is buying up all these farmlands and burning them down for the insurance money? I don't know. Like,
No.
is that possible?
No. So what's going on
No.
is there's an outbreak. There's a pandemic within chickens right now. That is it's like a form of the bird flu for chickens.
Avian flu.
They just had to kill 5.2 million birds at a local farm. Now there is something weird going on though, and to answer the question, if you want to ask why these hedge funds are buying up all the property, it's not like somebody at the World Economic Forum's their mantra is they will own nothing and they will be happy for it. They want to create permanent debtors. And property is a scarce value. There's only so much land on planet Earth, and it's buy it. Of course, Bill Gates owns the most land. He's the richest. He was the richest individual for decades. Like, of course, he's going to.
All right, let's get into Elon Musk before we bore everyone to death. And now that we're getting
There we
into
go.
more
we
meat,
want to talk about bullshit. But we don't
I was
really
I
wanna
was
talk about real
just
stuff.
easing my way into this conversation.
Yeah.
Shit.
No, but Mo brings up a good point because, like, there's a lot of. It's weird. There's freaking farms
Well,
burning
Yeah,
down
but this
everywhere.
is a show. This
but-
is not a
but-
conversation where we're having amongst ourselves. We have to entertain
real quick,
people.
real quick, soon. What I heard, so like when I think about Bill Gates, like he's trying to make everything like, everybody, do away with the cows because of all this other, bullshit, the earth and the ozone and all this stuff. And then he's also behind that trying to get people to eat processed meat or vegan meats, right? And so I was like, dang, they're trying to do away with all the chickens. They're increasing all these like fake meats. What the hell's going on? I don't know.
I do think it's weird. I've been seeing it all week. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know. We'll probably never know what's really
Let's
happening.
just talk about the typical media stuff. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Unless the meat places and the chicken that is pretty mainstream for the most part.
No.
It's the interwebs.
They're
You can find it on
creating an
Twitter.
artificial food storage. So go to mypatriot.com and get yourself
Well
some
done.
food. They're
Well
creating
done.
an artificial, burning it down to make it so you have to buy food.
Damn.
You can't buy it.
That's
So
fine.
go to mypatriot.
Suni got so bored she left.
Yeah, she did. All right, let's talk about
Let's
Elon
bring her
Musk. She'll
back.
pop back up. I can see she's on her phone. All right, so let's talk about this because here's the deal. Obviously, as you guys know, Elon Musk has bought Twitter. It hasn't gone through. Like it still has to go through its process right now. If he backs out of the deal, Twitter gets $1 billion from him. If Twitter backs out of the deal, they get. If Twitter backs out of the deal, they have to pay Elon Musk $1 billion, and he'll probably get rid of all of his stocks, all of his shares. So that would cause a destruction of the company. So as of right now, things are moving forward with him being the owner of Twitter for many, many, many billions of dollars. Now, I know Suni's going to pop up in a second. I am an optimist on this one. If I'm not an optimist, I know his background. I know his things with microchips in the brains. I know all these things. But to me, I am looking at this as somebody that is a free speech advocate on a free speech platform. I am completely okay with being him being the champion in this instance. And if I don't have at least a little bit of faith that somebody like this can create change, I might as well give up across the board. So my belief on Elon is thumbs up. Who wants to go first? Jay, how about you tell us your thoughts on Elon Musk buying Twitter?
I think that it kind of goes along with what Kaecey just said about mainstream media. I think a lot of the fervor, positive or negative here, is not founded and a bit of a media creation. I don't think too many people care who give a crap about who owns Twitter, for starters, or who owns anything like that. I think that I have mixed feelings about Elon Musk. I always have. I like a lot of what he does, and I don't like a lot of what he does. I know he said some problematic things, specifically in Fremont, his first factory up there. Some poorly run things, but I also think that Elon Musk is like the best possible version of a billionaire we can have. You know what I mean? Better him than Bezos or lots of other people. Nobody's perfect. I think I saw his TED talk. I think he's naive and a lot of the free speech things that he says. I don't think he understands. I mean, neither do any of us, although you may have a better understanding than anyone else here, how hard content moderation is. I don't have a problem with that. I like funny things. I think he doesn't understand how hard content moderation is, and I think he could prove that in some of the things he said in his TED talk. I agree with Terry. A cautious thumbs up. I mean, I'm an optimist anyways. So maybe he'll improve it a little bit. He'll bring some free speech into it, which I'm a fan of to an extent. He's again at his TED talk, he proved that he doesn't really know what free speech is. He doesn't. He's naive. But I'm an optimist. I don't think very much is going to change, but I think a little bit of change is better than no change at all. That's how I feel about Elon buying Twitter.
Suni, I know you have some opinions on this. What do you think about Mr. Elon Musk?
I think that we are celebrating breadcrumbs about free speech on the internet when we still don't have free speech in real life. Like, I'm going to keep bringing up the DHS bulletin that literally labels us domestic terrorists for doing what we're doing here today. So I kind of feel like, okay, he may or may not tweak some algorithms. He doesn't know the difference between hate speech and free speech, just like Jay said. What are we celebrating for? If he can't even agree, like he put out a tweet and he said Twitter should be politically neutral. That was a broad statement. Who knows if he's talking about the app or the actual company? But if you believe in hate speech but free speech at the same time, then you're a walking contradiction. So I honestly don't think there's much to celebrate, because even though you may be able to say these things on Twitter, if your job gets a hold of that, you're out of there. So there is no free speech being restored, and Elon hasn't saved anything by buying Twitter.
I'm going to provide a quick counterpoint, and then I'll let Mo go. I get what you're saying, but I do think that, as we always talk about, things change with legislation, and fact is, and also power in numbers. And if we start seeing that there is more and more people that do have the same belief system, like what we've seen in the last 48 hours, for whatever reason, the massive follower counts shooting up for the conservatives in the world, whether they be politicians, which it matters. There's been studies done showing that Twitter numbers can actually correlate to actual voting, 0.2 voting percentages, depending on the district, to a point where it can make a difference on a major election. So if all of a sudden the floodgates are open, like, the Ted Cruz's, which you can think good or bad about him, the Donald Trump Jr.'s, the Steven Crowder's, all of them are getting 100,000 because maybe they turned off whatever algorithm it was suppressing them, and all of a sudden the numbers are more fair. Hillary Clinton goes down 20,000. Stephen Colbert goes down. If we're seeing an even up of numbers for whatever reason right now, and that happens, and more people are allowed to speak out and share content, maybe all of a sudden employers won't be so afraid to actually go, I'll hire a conservative. And that's why I do think it goes a little bit above and beyond that. And hopefully, and again, I'm optimistic questionably optimistic that things can change. Mo, go ahead.
Well, here's my thing about freedom of speech, and I didn't see his TED talk on what he said about it, but I just feel like I agree with Suni that we're celebrating kind of breadcrumbs in a way. Because in my mind, we never really lost freedom of speech, right? It's kind of like we never lost the ability to go wherever we wanted to go or not go and not wear a mask as a result of it, right? You can say whatever you want at any time. It's just not free from consequences is what it is. So in my mind, it's an illusion that we don't have freedom of speech. You don't have to just speak on Twitter. Like, people act like Twitter is the only place that you can express yourself, right? So you don't need to put all your eggs in that basket. Now, as far as the merger itself or the purchase of Twitter, I think it's a nice change. I am optimistic that he's going to do good things with it, because I think to myself, what benefit would he have to not do good things with it? Would it benefit him to do something malicious with it? I don't think so, right? I don't think he's a stupid guy. I think he's a smart guy. Will he use it to push his own agendas? Maybe so, but who doesn't? Who doesn't, to some extent, use their platform to push the agendas that they want to push? So that's my thoughts on that. I'm kind of like in the middle about it. I'm undecided. I kind of want to see, although now that I'm, seeing his involvement, I know you guys hate that I bring this up at the Johnny Depp trial. We're learning stuff about Elon Musk in there too. Crazy. Okay, that he spent a lot of money paying for her legal defense and donations and all this stuff. But on a funny note that I just read right now, I read an article that says a Texas rancher offers Elon Musk 100 acres of free land to bring Twitter headquarters to Texas.
That's not cheap right now. Not cheap out here in Texas.
Right.
So,
right.
Before I go to Kevin on this one, so Suni, explain your comment on this one.
Well, conservatives sit and whine all the time about, well, I lost this and I lost that. But then there's like, yay, New York Times lost 200K followers. And it's not just on Facebook. I'm watching people do it. When you're upset about losing followers, you have a right to be upset about losing followers. I don't think anyone's followers should be snatched away. People should be able to follow and tune in.
That's the reason why
you asked me a question, and I'm telling you why I'm saying it.
I know. I'm going to explain. I don't know if you've seen exactly why the speculation of why this is happening. This is happening because they're assuming, it's not like I'm happy, like, oh, people are unfollowing them. Yay. No, what they're saying is this is showing that potentially the algorithm suppressed the conservative pages, unlike they said, and then maybe they're covering their tracks in their algorithm. And also there is a bunch of bots because follower numbers translate to votes. So they're saying that the reason why they're losing followers is that these were inflated numbers done to show that they had a bigger follower count than they did. I don't care if somebody unfollows somebody. I care that the platform is potentially being rectified in a way that could actually not just be towards free speech, but actually assist in a free and fair election as well.
Oh boy.
So
yeah, I don't no, bro. Conservatives buy followers just like lefties do. I'm just not with the party bullshit, bro. Like, we do the same thing as the left does, but when the left uses a bunch of bots, it's like, look, the algorithm is working. They're losing their bots. Okay, well, what about the conservatives with over 1 million followers that bought half of those followers? They're still bots.
You bring up a great point. The botting issue is something that Twitter has had to deal with for a long time. It has been dealt with because of advertisers. Because of the fact that advertisers base a lot of their revenue, like a lot of the money they spend off of these things. But it is very weird that, you look at Steven Crowder, and this is just one that was brought up on my show this morning. This is a trend that you're seeing with a lot of these conservative pages. Steven Crowder went from getting about, some days close to 2,000, but most days right around 1,300, to all of a sudden he's getting 6,000 to 50,000 almost a day followers. What you're seeing, Jack Posobiec on the Timcast IRL last night said something that I think was just I didn't think about it this way, but it makes perfect sense. Elon Musk not only bought Twitter, he bought the evidence, is what he did. He bought the evidence of the meddling. He bought the evidence. Because here's the thing is Twitter is used by it's only 22% of Americans. But that translates to 60 million people. There is not a single news organization. There is not a single other social media. Like there is no other platform that has as much of an impact on the culture and on the day-to-day conversation as Twitter. It is the first place politicians go, celebrities go, all these people go to actually get news out, get their conversation out. And so what is going on is, I think part of the problem, and this is why, and we're going to probably go into this next, all of a sudden, you're hearing about the new Ministry of Truth, the Disinformation Governance Board that the Department of Homeland Security is setting up, because Twitter's value extends far beyond what its shareholder price says. It actually has a cultural significance that has not been replicated by Getter or True Social or Instagram or any of these other things. And so they know that because Twitter is going the way of Twitter is now going to be open more so. And you can say what you want about Elon Musk. His stance on free speech is one I agree with, which is, how about this? No racial slurs, and you can say whatever the hell you want. How about this? No, like saying you're going to kill someone, and you can say whatever the hell you want. Because at the end of the day, what free speech means is the exchange of ideals. And he supports that. We haven't seen it necessarily. But Elon Musk is probably like you said, Jay, he's probably the best billionaire we have. Like out of all the billionaires, he is the one that handles his money the best. Or he handles his presence the best. Personally, my biggest problem with him is Neuralink, but other than that, I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
So you don't have a problem that he's one of the young leaders on the WEF under Klaus Schwab?
Oh, I 100% have a problem with the fact that he's doing that, right? I have 100% fact that he's developing Neuralink, which is hilarious considering we have so many people who have said the government wants to put a chip in you, and then the same people are going like, oh my gosh, he's creating this chip that's going to be able to go into your freaking brain and dictate your thoughts. But at the same time, I don't know. To me, some people that are going to be involved in the World Economic Forum are not going to like what they're doing. And so what is it going to look like when they present themselves? I don't know. Like I said the same thing about Vladimir Putin, right? What does it look like when someone disagrees with the World Economic Forum's agenda? How do they present themselves? How do they go about their business? What do they do? We don't know. And whereas I think maybe this could be a bad thing, I'm hesitant to throw him under the bus right now, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
And the Young Economic Forum thing, that was, and I agree. I think that's horrific. That was also a while ago, and he really has not, and that's why he's got pictures with Schwab. He has not been a part of it for a while.
Yeah.
He has not attended any Global Economic Forum events, I believe, in a couple of years. I think he's distancing himself from that because I think I just think he's more brilliant of them than they are, and I think he's distancing himself. And again, I'm cautiously optimistic because maybe this is all for naught, and this is a really bad situation.
He went directly against them to purchase Twitter. Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are 3 of the top 10 shareholders of Twitter. Right? They want that influence, and he said, "No, screw you. I'm taking it away from you." So I don't know.
And real quick, actually, go ahead, Kaecey, because I'm going to get into something else. Go ahead.
So the big thing on why I believe this is a good thing, and of course, Suni's not going to be surprised because she already knows that I am an Elon Musk fan. I am. But when it comes to what he's done, if you look at his history of what he's done, yes, there's some questionable things. I don't like the chips in their brains. I don't like that stuff. Not at all. However, a lot of the stuff that he's invented and patented and released, he's also released the patent and all of the information for to share it out because he believes in freedom of information. If you look at his history, that's what he's done. He patented the Tesla, his car, and then released the patent for it so other people could reuse it and make other electric cars. Who does that? And if he didn't believe in freedom of speech or action within our country, you would withhold that patent and make sure everybody pays you licensing fees. No, he open sourced it. And guess what he's doing with Twitter? He said he's going to open source their code. He's going to release all of their code so it can be open sourced and people can know what the algorithms are and how their tweets are used within the algorithm, and you can change that. And if that doesn't tell you a lot about when we're talking about freedom of speech and he doesn't want to restrict it, I don't know what else will.
He actually can't. I agree with a lot of what you said, Kaecey. He can't. I know he said he was going to release the code. He actually can't. There's some advertiser stuff in there. It's not really possible for him to release Twitter.
He can based upon the tweets. He can't. The advertiser part, I bet he can't. Would make sense. But he can release everything else to show that, hey, there is shadow banning happening. There is this stuff happening between just how this user is handled versus another user, right? That stuff can come out. Advertiser stuff, I bet can't. I would agree with that.
So I do have a free speech question that I want to engage Jay on, because, and I think this is where it becomes, this is my take on what he is going to allow. And for too long, we have said that one doctor's word is truth on Twitter, and another doctor who believes a certain way is now a conspiracy theorist quack. So now let's get into the election. The election, you could think is completely fine. Everything was great with it, but there's enough breadcrumbs, no matter who you are, as long as you're a little bit fair on media, to say that this was not a perfect election. So when it comes to this other thought process, and again, Biden won the presidency, I'm good with saying however you want to say that. But in his version of open source speech, I mean, to me, saying I'm going to go do something dangerous and shoot up a school, that's not protected. That's against the law. But saying I don't think the election was, which I can't say on this platform, but saying that it's technically a freedom of speech that I believe as though he's implied is something that is okay to be talked about on what his version of Twitter would be. Are you okay with that version of free speech? Because I know you disagree with that sentiment.
I've always been okay with that version of free speech. I think this conversation gets, whatever the opposite, I think it gets simplified. Because as I said earlier, I think content moderation, we've learned, is really, really, really hard and really nuanced and really complicated, right? So when you can't have humans moderating every piece of content. So when you have bots, millions and millions of bots that are echoing the same dissenting opinion that citizens are having, right? It gets really difficult for a platform to tell the difference. They almost have to do a clean sweep. I think that doesn't get talked about enough. Not that it's okay for people to get deplatformed or to get their, to get for the algorithm to push them down or anything like that. But I think a lot of people get swept up in bot sweeps. You know what I mean? A lot of real people get swept up if the messaging is echoed. And I don't think Musk, we know from what he said, he doesn't understand it. He said he wants to ban spam and bots. Spam and bots are actually protected by free speech. They're actually perfectly legal. So I don't think Elon, to Suni's point, Elon doesn't know what free speech actually is. So I, like you, Anthony, am cautiously optimistic that some positive things will happen. But I think that we tend to oversimplify the issue. And I understand why you would, because you're negatively affected by stuff like this, but it's just not that simple. It just isn't. Content moderation is really, really, really hard. And I don't think anybody knows how to do it. Well, maybe Elon can figure it out, but
we'll soon be moving to the next topic. But the other thing is, of course, you've got a white activist for the Black community, Sean King, talking a little bit about him going back and forth. He said he said yesterday that he spoke with Google, his connections at Google, which, again, the guy thinks that he's Black, so I'm sure he has big time connections at Google too. And Suni rightfully shared some old photos of Sean when he was a child and incredibly white, and his parents. I think it's hilarious that he is known as
a redhead.
He's a redhead white family. But regardless, let's not get too far down that rabbit hole.
He's called Talcum X for a reason, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but according to some sources, and also some other people have mentioned this as well, that Google and Apple will consider, if he does not ban hate speech in the right way, they will consider removing Twitter from their app stores.
I said that, which is why I don't think anybody should be celebrating, because Twitter is going to remain the same outside of algorithms being opened. Elon Musk cannot change Twitter in a direction that people think he can, or it's going to be just like Parler, off of everyone's phone and app store, which is why I said we're literally celebrating breadcrumbs at this point.
Let me put it this way. So we believe that there is, within the World Economic Forum, a group of elites that have significant political influence. They have significant economic influence, right? What would it look like? What would their response be? Right? Say they can control all of these various forms of communication. How would they respond if they thought a threat was purchasing one of their most significant sources of informational output? Would they put laws in place that try to limit what kind of mis and disinformation is allowed to be present on its platform. Cough, cough. The European Union right now saying that Twitter must abide by their speech laws. Would it look like the whatever kind of executive branch was in place in the country that it was headquartered coming out with new laws and regulations trying to limit the company's ability to be able to put speech out? What I'm saying is the response from the other people that also attend the World Economic Forum says to me, they see Elon Musk as a threat. They think what Elon Musk is doing goes against what they want.
And that's and Kevin, that's a lot like Trump. That was like that's why, and people will be like, well, Trump was they used to be friends with all these people, and I don't. And Trump had his failures in terms of getting rid of certain people, but fact is, Trump was best friends with the Clinton. He was close with all these people, and then he goes, you know what? I'm going to do something different. Theoretically, I'm going to do something different, and fact is, people don't like when people change, and I think. And I think it's very dangerous to them. And I think the fact that Elon Musk might be seeing something different, and the fact that they're going against him in such a way, which it technically is against a lot of antitrust laws, for them to even consider taking that stance, because it's not like he's doing anything wrong necessarily just yet. So we'll see if that comes to play. But now, real quick, so we can finish up this topic, does anybody besides Kevin, if not, we'll go to Kevin, know the full details behind the Ministry of whatever it's called? Kevin, go ahead. I know you know it probably
sounds like he's the only one.
Yeah, I know the tip of the iceberg, and that's about it.
So yesterday, during Senate hearings where the Department of Homeland Security had to come out and justify its 2023 fiscal budget, Alejandro Mayorkas admitted, hey, yeah, so we're creating this new thing called the Governance Board of Disinformation. What it's going to do is, quote unquote, here, like, let me share my screen really quick because I have their future president's tweets up here, right? So, Nina Yankowicz. Yes, exactly. Yes. The Ministry of Truth. Nina Yankowicz right here.
Oops. Sorry, I got you. My bad.
Who?
Go ahead.
That's a great question. She is a former fellow at the Wilson Center for Disinformation, famous for participating in all these things that said that these various COVID conspiracy theories were false. This is right here. Department of Homeland Security is standing up a new disinformation governance board to coordinate countering misinformation related to Homeland Security, focused specifically on irregular migration, that's the border, and Russia. Russian disinformation is a Pavlovian dog. So for those of you who don't know, the Pavlovian dog response is you ring the bell, you get the response you want. You ring the bell of Russian disinformation, whatever they're applying it to gets ignored. So you say Russia. Nina Yankowicz will head the board as executive director. She previously was a disinformation fellow at the Wilson Center, advised the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry as part of the Fulbright Public Policy Fellowship, and oversaw Russian and Belarusian programs for this same thing. So what is effectively occurring is the government has created the Department of Homeland Security has created an apparatus that will dictate what is mis and disinformation in order to protect Homeland Security from the great threat that is Russia. It's
Super
the
weird
Ministry
timing.
of Truth.
It's
the Ministry of Truth.
Super weird timing.
sounds
Go
like
ahead.
it's the Patriot Act of
On
2022.
steroids.
Yeah, Jay, what were you gonna say? And then we're gonna get
I
off
just-
of Elon.
I'm going to reserve judgment because I haven't read too much about it, but on its face, it sounds like a terrible idea.
By the way, Nina Yankowicz famously said that the Hunter Biden laptop thing was Russian disinformation. Famously came out and said that the Wuhan lab link theory was disinformation. Famously came out and said that the push for mandatory vaccination was just a conspiracy theory, right? All of this stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. All right, so let's end this on the count of three. If you believe that Elon Musk is potentially the Antichrist in this issue, so here's going to be the three options: Antichrist, going to affect no change whatsoever, or potentially a savior. Those are the three. So, do you think he is the Antichrist, and this is a bad thing? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Nope. If you think
wait, I don't like the word savior. Okay, we have a problem. Like the fact that we're calling this man a savior, that's a little too much for me.
this is, I'll change it to something that is a very positive move. So the other two options are no change or positive move. So do you think there will be no change, and this is a story about nothing that he just bought? Okay. And then lastly, do you think that this is a very good thing, and you're going to see where it goes?
I'm on neither of those.
Mo
None
opted
of
out for number D. Where are you at,
Well,
Mo?
because here's my thing. Like I'm sitting here thinking this is so sad that we are sitting here, and just us, but there's other people in the world sitting there like just waiting to see what he's going to do. And it's sad because we have become so dependent on social media to make us relevant. And like until we see that we have a problem, that we're trying so hard to be relevant. Just think about this for a second, guys. If tomorrow the YouTubes, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks went away, would you be relevant with the people you touch, the people that you see?
No,
would
but
you
I'd be happy.
relevant? I know, but you know what I mean? Like I just think about that. Like I'm like, really, that's where we have to like in our minds get to. Like, yeah, this is an interesting thing to me, but like I'm not waiting on Elon Musk.
I think if
I don't think anybody said they're waiting on Elon Musk. We just
just
think
feel
there's a
like
good
there are
opportunity.
a lot of people though.
Oh,
There are a lot of people worshiping this guy, saying that he saved fucking democracy. He saved freedom of speech. There are these idiots out there saying that.
There's the idiots that still worship the ground Trump walked on.
Right.
So
Problem.
Well, that's the point that she's making.
Yeah.
People are ran off of views and the number of followers they have. Get off the
I get
internet
that,
and go affect real change in the real world.
But
So
that for people like us, this is how impact happens. I mean, yes, we can go out and do things and use our time, but for Suni, you
I'm a
live in
gun
Japan.
lobbyist.
What can you
But this-
like? But I'm saying your
I talk
biggest.
to military spouses on the daily.
I
So
know,
whether
but
to me
it's
all the time.
I get it, but your biggest effect that you can have is with your voice right now. For the in the United States of America, you are powerful because of your voice. And
yes.
so
But
that
I
does
get
mean
that,
something.
but
But you guys, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, none of them had the internet,
because
Yeah.
there wasn't another option.
Yeah.
but they did it anyways. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
They
Like
still use their voice.
we've gotten lazy.
If Martin Luther King, and maybe this is another vote, but if Martin Luther King today said, "I will not use the internet," and never had a following on the internet, nobody would know who Martin Luther King was today because there's too much clutter. There's too many other things.
I don't
You
agree
want-
with that at all.
I don't
You
know.
want to know
I
how I
don't
know
like
the
that.
Biden administration
That's absurd.
hates minorities? By the way, Suni, you'll understand where I'm coming from on this one. By the way,
It's a big statement.
actually-
like
Hold on, you
hates
actually think-
minorities.
Oh
What
yeah,
is
they're
this?
doing away
Oh,
with the
God.
insult.
Oh,
Bro, take this shit
I
off
see.
the screen.
I see. That was funny.
Fuck you, bro.
You think you
was
think? Hold on, I got to go back to this. You think somebody like a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X in today's world, you think that they would have an impact without using any social media or their videos being on social media in today's world?
Yes.
Absolutely, because I grew up in a
How?
world with no social media. I have
Because I
books.
knew about all these things with no internet.
No,
And
I think
you know
Anthony's
why?
right.
Because my parents taught me.
Right.
That's not the world
that
we
is
live
so.
in.
But that doesn't.
You
I
can't
think that's
discount that.
that
You're
makes it
literally
sad.
saying
The
this
world we live in is sad.
generation wouldn't
Well,
know
Suni, go
about
ahead.
Malcolm X and Martin Luther King if it weren't for the internet. No.
No. You're
Absolutely
misunderstanding me. You're misunderstanding me. I'm saying there was no Martin Luther King then. There was no Malcolm X then. They came today. They came. This is their generation, and their belief system was the same. And they were going to create massive amounts of change. Or you can switch it and say there was all the same distractions and internet back in the 1960s. Okay. And then let's use the 1960s, make it easy. Say that back then, all these different things were around. People's attention spans were just as short. The way people got information was exactly this 24-hour news cycle. And if Martin Luther King said, "I'm not using social media because I think it's of the devil, and I'm just going to speak to the masses however I can find them," you think that he would actually have any historical relevance?
You know,
No.
Historical relevance, maybe not, but why are we just shooting for historical relevance? I have a friend who does not have any social media, and he impacts a lot of people's lives.
Agreed.
It may be on a very small level, but why are we so obsessed with numbers, right? We're so obsessed with, I got 1 million views, I went viral. Why is it not enough for just 3 people or 10 people to think you're pretty
and
fucking
people do that
awesome?
all the time. People do
But
that
it's
all the
not
time.
enough for us. We're so addicted. We're so addicted.
Well,
I'm sorry, we are.
It's not enough to create massive change. There's individuals that are great at affecting their community. It creates a ripple effect, absolutely. But I was literally just saying Martin Luther King wouldn't be Martin Luther King if he didn't have the internet. Suni, if you decided to say, I'm
Can
never
you
doing
repeat
the
that again? I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Martin
I'm
Luther
saying-
King wouldn't be Martin Luther King without the internet.
No, you're
Today.
not. You're
Today.
cherry picking.
He's saying
I'm
hidden
trying to
my
understand. I'm not cherry picking.
Okay. Sorry.
You said one sentence, and
without
I'm
the
asking for
use-
clarification
so I'm
on
gonna-
that.
I'm gonna use you as Martin Luther King. So I'm gonna say, Suni, you in the next year, you're following
Welcome
growth.
to manhood.
You're following growth, and you end up speaking at major events outside of social media, probably covered by social media, but you all of a sudden have a following of a million people. Can't wait to see when you speak. You go out there, and yes, you speak without your lives and whatever, but people know you off of the internet, and you're able to create massive change. Now, if you chose to not worry about followers, get completely off of social media, and just say, I'm going to just go to events and speak to people, and maybe it'll be 10 people on a step, and hopefully it'll grow, yada, yada, yada. To me, I'm saying it would not grow organically without the use of social media in today's world. So if Martin Luther King was dropped here today and he said, screw social media, I'm going to do things the way that I did in the 1960s. I don't care. We shouldn't care about follower counts. We should just speak. I would say that he would affect greatly 40 people, but he would not have any catastrophic global relevance and change.
I don't know. I think it's subjective, and you're entitled to your opinion, but I think some
Certainly
people
subjective.
are just certain people are who they are because of how they speak and how they can draw a crowd. So I'm not going to say that he wouldn't be who he was in the past up today if he chose not to utilize the internet. I don't think you can't speak in absolutes like that. That's subjective. I don't agree with it, but
I think we can't see it because we're so engulfed in it. You know what I mean? Like we
Right.
can't even contemplate it.
I think
I
if
can
all
contemplate it,
all
but-
social media dropped today and there was no Facebook, there was no
The world would be a better place.
It
I
would be a
don't
way better
listen.
place.
I don't have an attitude. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me. I don't have to agree with the people on this screen. He asked me a question. I think it's subjective. I don't agree. What is the big
It's
deal?
definitely subjective, by the way. Of course it's subjective. This is a hypothetical. How could it be objective? It literally can't be objective. It's hypothetical.
And Suni, I do think you have an attitude. I don't think you have a bad attitude. There's a difference. An attitude is an attitude. We all have a fucking attitude. Who gives a shit about
Especially
attitude?
Russo tonight.
Attitude's a good thing. It's not a bad. I think. I mean, the most engaging our conversation is when we disagree. So you're not being a downer. That's not it. You're just disagreeing. Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, like, we kind of forget the fact that these men still use their voice, like the letters from a Birmingham jail. Like the Malcolm X's autobiography. Like their voice was still the most impactful thing of anything they did. Martin Luther King's speech from the in front of the Lincoln, was it the Lincoln Memorial that he spoke in front of?
Yeah.
Us using our voice, like, yeah, I do lobbying work, right? I go out and I lobby politicians to advocate for more gun rights, but at the same time, like, it's still like our voice is like, I was influenced to do what I'm doing now because of people like you guys on this board just putting their voice out there, putting their opinions out there. There needs, just as much as people need to be acting, they need something to act on. And if you're providing people the motivation to act, that is just as important as the action itself. Because if I'm never motivated to act, like, I was a Bernie bro that thought no one should have guns ever, that the only people who should have guns are the military. And now I'm out here saying that if the government even says that I can't put a freaking, like, silencer on my rifle, they are 100% violating the founding fathers. No. Like Malcolm X,
Wait,
Martin Luther King.
Bernie didn't even think no one should have a gun. How are you a Bernie bro and didn't want anyone to have a gun? Not even Bernie felt
because
that way.
like I was getting a very, very, very curated perspective from Bernie. So don't dismiss just how important. There are people that speak, and there are people that act, and there are people that speak and act, and like it's just what matters is your opinion is incredibly valuable, and if you don't have the means to put it out there, like it is what it is. But at the same time, feel you are special for your voice. Your opinion is special. Who you are is special, and you should be proud of who you are and what you're doing through your voice. And then your actions are an entirely different facet of that you should be proud of as well.
Can we all tell that Kevin does radio now because he manages to take a 30-second bit and turn it into 13 minutes? Okay,
that was 1 minute and 42 seconds. I have a timer right here.
Okay. All right. So real quick, guys, let's go now to Don't Say Gay bill fallout. And I know Jay's going to get involved in this one because we got
Don't Say Jay
on social media.
Don't say Jay.
Yeah, we can't say Jay.
This is also known as the Don't Say Jay bill. So it's in the very beginning, Jay, you and I went back and forth. And then I know that, we all have our opinions on this bill. I think the bill's great. I think the marketing with the name of it is not because it's completely false. Because one of the things I said to you, Jay, was I go, read the bill. Tell me what why do you think that? So just because you are probably our dissenting opinion on this bill, what do you read in it that is negative?
Well, all right. So the one thing you did convince me of, which I 100% agree with you on, is that the name is stupid. The nickname is stupid. But I mean, that didn't take very much. It's just good marketing. It's politics. You know what I mean? Yep. Like this happens all the time. It's not outside the norm for dissenting politicians to give a bill a nasty nickname. The bill is certainly not. It doesn't say anything about not saying the word gay. It's stupid. I also think the bill is really stupid. It doesn't solve an actual problem, and I think the whole thing is a wide open, slippery slope. There's stuff in here, like I took some notes, but I did read it, by the way, before we argued about it. There's prohibiting classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity. Straight, by the way, is a sexual orientation.
Yeah.
So are we breaking the rules the second a kid says mommy and daddy? You know what I mean? The second how not? How does that not break the rules?
Because the rule is the teachers cannot initiate the conversation. If a child brings it up, the teachers must alert the parent that it was brought up.
In the bill? Where does it say
says that
in
the bill? Like I read this. I read this live. Yeah,
so did I.
It says it in
so
there.
did I. I'd like to see that language.
It says that.
No, it says prohibiting classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender.
So that is a classroom discussion. So like the teacher cannot initiate. That's what it says. The teacher cannot initiate. If a student comes up to a teacher,
it says prohibiting classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity.
So naturally,
I don't see anything that says anything about the teacher cannot initiate.
So that's what it's saying. A classroom discussion.
Maybe the spirit of what you're saying, but it certainly doesn't say it in the bill. There's no language to cover that.
How? Okay, read it again, Jay.
The sentence is prohibiting classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity.
Okay, so how is anybody in pre-K through kindergarten going to initiate that without a teacher?
Yeah, my mom. Listen, what if you're from I'll
no, answer it. How?
I am. I'm going to answer it right now. What if there's a kid? This will happen in Florida, in any state, in any place in the world. Maybe not any place in the world. My daddy and daddy, my mommy and mommy. If a kid's just telling a story from home, and he says, my mommy and mommy, how is the teacher supposed to tackle that? What is the teacher supposed to do? Now the teacher has to go, you have to shut up, kid. We can't talk about this because of some stupid law that's way too wide open. But I'm only putting this towards the same-sex marriage thing. If a kid says, my mommy and daddy, that is dealing with gender identity and sexual orientation. Period. End of story. I know it's a wide definition, but it is. Like it is. So that's the problem I have with this bill. Also, is this really solving a problem? Did we really have this issue this young? I've seen a lot of teachers say, I disagree with this bill, but this isn't like this is part of our curriculum. We're not starting these conversations with kids in kindergarten about
that's
sexual
not
orientation.
True, though.
I'm sure it's happened.
Absolutes.
I'm not speaking in absolutes. I'm sure there's anecdotal things that have happened, but is this an actual problem?
It is an actual problem because because school is to learn about history, math, and reading. You have no place talking
I'm not
to
arguing that they
students
should
about
be talking about it. I'm saying, is it a problem where they've been talking about it all over the place in Florida?
yes, it's
Really?
a problem.
Show me the data. Show me the data.
Do you not hear the president of the United
Here,
States?
I'll give him.
Is he in a
I will
classroom?
give him.
Is he in a classroom?
Hold on, I'll give you anecdotal experience.
The
My
president
daughter
is not
came
in a
home
classroom.
asking me what non-binary means,
Uh-huh.
and it was
How old is your
because a
daughter?
student. She's 8.
Okay.
It was because a student came to school and told her, "I'm not a boy or a girl. I'm non-binary." Her
Okay.
teacher said, "That is not a conversation we're having in school. We're here to learn." It's as simple as that. A teacher doesn't have to oblige the student and say, "Oh, well, what's that?" and
But you're
open up the
giving the-
floor for. Hold on, let me
You're
finish.
making my argument for me. I'm saying it's not an actual problem. Like, the teacher there did the thing that the teacher should probably do.
But other
without a
teachers
bill.
aren't doing that. That's the
Where's
overall
the
point
data for
that
that?
we're making.
Where's the data for that? This is the
Bro.
thing. I think this bill isn't solving an actual problem.
The data is that you
I'm
have
trying-
teachers in Austin, Texas school district celebrating the fact that 20 of their 32 children identify as LGBTQ. Never.
Did they do that? Did they do that to them?
Yes. There is
How do you know that?
because there is no way a child will identify as LGBTQ unless sexuality itself is discovered. The human brain does not operate in such a way that there is what is that? So 20 of 32, you're talking 5 out of 8, you're talking 62.5% of students in that class say that their brain does not operate in such a way that they fall within the naturally occurring human dimensions of sexuality. So when you have
What do you mean naturally occurring? This
Yes,
is a slippery
man and
slope
woman.
what you're about to say right
no
now.
slippery. What makes a slippery slope a fallacy, Jay? What makes slippery slope a
Did
fallacy?
I use the word fallacy? Did I use the
No,
word fallacy?
that's what a slippery slope is. It is a slippery slope fallacy. Add the final
I
word
understand.
to the phrase.
I understand.
So what
I
makes it a fallacy is it hasn't been proven. A slippery slope stops being a fallacy the moment it actually occurs. So when you say it's a slippery slope fallacy, when you have 20 of 32 fourth grade students in a classroom saying they identify as LGBTQ+, that is a problem. Because without any kind of education, you see
Why
about
is
a
it
9.
problem?
Because it's a problem because they say they do not identify within the evolutionarily dictated realm of human gender identity of man versus woman, male versus female.
So this is a much bigger conversation that you're sort of you're driving into here.
Yes.
Is that, like, if you don't believe that homosexuality in any form is naturally occurring, we can't even have this conversation.
So when a child says they identify as a woman,
we can't even have
and
the
they date
conversation.
someone who says they
We have a
identify
rational
as a man,
conversation.
they're straight. But they both say they're the different gender, but they're both straight.
What?
Are they really homosexual at that point? So if I say I'm a demisexual, amorphous, gender neutral, pansexual, like, what does that mean?
I mean,
that's
a pretty extreme example.
No,
But
that's
I
not.
think we're going a little off the rails. Let me
Yes,
explain
we're going
to
a
you-
little off the rails because this is what happened. Sorry.
Let me give you my on top of the fact that there's just way too many parents that I've talked to, especially that have responded from Florida, and then people that I know that have kids that have dealt with their kids coming home and going, "This is weird." And again, we only have so many thousand followers, so it's pretty rare. It can't be fully anecdotal, but this is the fallout, which was part of this conversation. The fallout of this all is actually, to me, the biggest indicator that is a real problem. Teachers saying, "I am leaving because I can't speak freely to my children."
Exactly.
That is the evidence that this was a problem in the first place. And no, this isn't 40% of the teachers leaving, but this is a big enough percentage that it shows that there was already a problem.
How does that show it's a problem?
Because the teachers say, "I'm not allowed to speak to my kids about
So
anything."
in this universe, teachers got into teaching to indoctrinate children to be the sexuality that they are or whatever, and now they're quitting in droves because they can no longer do that.
So-
that is the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I'm gonna pull up a video.
Do you know what
the
comprehensive
craziest shit I've ever heard.
sexuality education is?
I agree, it's crazy.
No, I don't have any
but it's
children.
True.
So comprehensive sexuality education is what UNESCO, which is the UN's Guide on How to Educate Young Children says how you should run sexual education. And it says that at all age levels, you should be discussing sexuality with children based on non-verifiable bunk psychological studies. The entire sociology and psychology fields of academic research is completely ideologically driven at this point. There is little to no pushback on anything. The only way to get your papers approved in this field is to go along with an ideological bend. And so they are then using these broken fields to dictate how they handle sexuality. Comprehensive sexuality education is the number one tool used by that is promoted by public educators nowadays. And what it says is you need to be talking about all facets of sexuality, not just penis and vagina equals baby, but emotions. Do you know what it means to be pansexual? If your 6-year-old comes home and says they're pansexual, what does it mean?
I don't know.
It means that their teacher had a conversation with them where they extrapolated they are sexually attracted to everyone. To be pansexual means your sexual attraction is to everyone based on who they are, not what gender they have. It necessarily involves discussing with a 6-year-old what they are sexually attracted to. 6-year-olds aren't sexually attracted to anything. That's what puberty is for. That's why it's a problem. So when these sexual identities are discussed, it necessarily involves discussing who children are sexually attracted to. A boy can be a boy and be attracted to anyone, but what it means to be a boy does not necessarily involve sexuality. But when you start talking pansexual or non-binary or all these other things, it necessarily means a teacher discussed with a child who they are sexually attracted to, and that is not okay in kindergarten.
I don't think it necessarily means that.
No, it does.
I take your no. I disagree, but I take your point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think. Oh, go ahead, play this. This weird thing.
Go ahead. I didn't know you were going to talk.
Oh, well, first of all, if you work in an HR office for a school board, please, if somebody comes into your office with an application to be a teacher that looks like this, think twice. No. That's number one, okay? But I think, I don't know too much about the details of this bill. And when I was hearing Russo say that teachers were saying, I'm going to quit because I feel like I don't have freedom to teach in my classroom or whatever the wording was, I think that could be a little bit of the ones like this lady here that you have up on the screen. And I think it also could be teachers that are just afraid of a lawsuit because, they don't want to make one wrong move in the gray areas of this bill. And say, okay, if a child comes up to me and says, this is my thing. If a child is speaking in a classroom and says, my mommy and mommy, unless somebody asks a question, and this is how everybody should deal with children, unless those children ask a question about why did he say mommy and mommy, then leave it alone. Don't talk about it. That's my thing. I've always learned with my children when they were very little, they would come and ask me the wildest things. And my question to them was, well, what do you think it means? Oh, well, I think it means this. Huh? Why do you think that? And I would just keep asking questions. I would never give them information. And I think that teachers need to be better trained in that type of, in handling of the children, especially the little ones, because they say crazy stuff all the time and they don't necessarily know what they're saying.
And a lot like our issues sometimes with good police officers and bad police officers, it's like some of them are out there just to overly uphold the law because they think they get to be too tough and too strong. But the training is important to make sure that they are able to properly handle themselves. Teachers sometimes get so gung-ho. They're like, I get to be a teacher and impress my values instead of my education on children. And that's where it becomes an issue. Let's go ahead and play this video.
Right. Hi, I'm a queer teacher, and I 1000% do not support this bill. And yes, I do know what's in it. The bill in itself is just another way to stigmatize the LGBTQ+ community. Kids as young as 3 and 4 are actually aware of their gender identity, even if they don't have the language for it. Also very aware of who they like and who they don't like. Heterosexuality is pushed on our kids on a daily basis at a very young age. Media, through books, the first Disney movie that you saw. To say that pre-K through 3rd grade are not ready for such topics is actually internalized homophobia and transphobia.
This is what teachers are doing. as small
what
as
this teacher did.
kindergarten.
That's
No,
what this teacher-
listen.
yeah, no.
There are multiple teachers doing it. I
Sure,
was
there's
able to pull
multiple
up
teachers
one
doing it.
video. I feel
about
like
this
you're
one?
being like completely dishonest on purpose. The fact of the matter is, parents, my child is my fucking property. So yeah, I'm gonna dictate what the hell you talk to my child in your classroom about. And if I don't agree with it, I'm either gonna snatch my child out of your classroom, or I'm going to talk to the administration about your inappropriate conversations, which is exactly what I did at my child's school. And you know what?
But see, I agree with
nipped
you,
in the
Suni.
bud at day one. Don't be talking
agree
about
with
my.
you.
Don't be talking to my kid about this shit, bro.
I agree with you, Suni. I agree, and I want to be very clear. I don't think kids of a certain age should be taught anything like this either. My point when I was asking if this is really a problem, I'm not asking whether it's a problem that some kids learn this. I'm saying, was it such a problem to create the fervor over a kind of stupid, wide open bill that can be interpreted 100 different ways when we don't need a bill for this? To your point, Suni, this can be handled. I don't think the instances of this in children this young are so widespread that
I'm
we
in
needed a bill
Japan,
like
Jay.
this.
If it wasn't widespread, it wouldn't be occurring in this country in an American setting.
The occurrence of this has gone up from 3.2% among boomers to 4.7% among Gen X to 9% amongst millennials to 15% amongst Gen Z. This is what the
when
teacher
you
from the
say
section...
this, what do you mean?
This.
What's this?
There's no audio. There's no
No,
audio.
explain what you mean when you say this.
There's no audio to this?
No.
I'm forgetting to share my audio. I'm pulling a Suni tonight, aren't I?
What do you
I'm saying
this?
going beyond just homosexuality. What does it mean to be homosexual? Like people of the same sex. Going beyond that, this gender narrative, where somehow, some way, because you don't fit perfectly within what it means to be a man, that somehow
why
means
should that bother you? Why do you give a shit?
Because what it does is they target. You have teachers that are specifically teachers, right? Where do you think sexual predation is more common in public education or the Catholic Church?
Kevin, he's asking.
Yeah.
He's asking.
Who is they?
What is the source? He's asking what is your source of the where you're saying where are these numbers coming from? Who's saying that teachers are doing this?
So this is from the Libs of TikTok, but this is from Sexy Sex Ed, which is a camp that was started in Kentucky to educate children on sexual education. Comprehensive sexual education comes from UNESCO, which is the UN's guidelines, which has been adopted by many states in America, including Washington State, my state of Colorado, California, New York. There's a bunch of states that have adopted this. It's all over school boards throughout our countries. This idea that we need to be teaching. There's age-appropriate times. Like this is comprehensive sexual education.
Don't press play yet. Don't press play yet. Don't press play yet.
Comes from
Kevin. Yeah. Don't press play yet.
Yeah.
Jay, you said something, and before we go on, you said before you were talking about why is there such a big deal? Yada yada yada. Legislation is not meant to be a big deal. I don't think DeSantis wanted this to be a big deal. It's called signing something into work. That's it. You do your job. You say this is important for the community. There's some things that only affect 2% of the population, but you get it done, and that's legislation. You're protecting 2% of the population. He did not make this a big deal. The leftist media and the ultra woke made this a rallying cry, hence the marketing, hence the don't say gay bill. This is not something that he's championing as the savior for all children. This is an important part of legislation to affect a certain area, you make sure things don't get worse or they don't become an even bigger issue. And I think in Florida, it's probably one of the better places where it's less of an issue. Why not make sure that it stops?
I think we're disagreeing less than you think we are.
Yeah.
What my point? I think it's a poorly written bill that has there's language in there that could get a teacher in trouble, or that could make a teacher have to out a student to a parent. I think it's a really shittily written bill.
Why shouldn't the parent know?
Again, that we can go into that whole conversation. That's a whole other conversation.
So
I'm actually
yeah, the parent actually is the one that deserves to know that. And if you have a problem with parents that suck at that, that's a problem with the parent. That's something we should address as a country to say, hey, stop alienating your children if they come out to you, right? But this is what President Biden says first.
These aren't these children. They're not someone else's children. They're our children. And they are the kite strings that literally lift our national ambitions.
Bryn? Wait.
Kite strings.
Yeah, they're our children. They're not your children. They're our children. And so then you have sexy sex ed in Kentucky coming out with a woman saying this crap. And this is comprehensive sexuality education.
We should, get down with yourself, explore your own body. Masturbation is really healthy, and I recommend it to people of all ages. All ages. As soon as my nephews could talk, they were doing that. That's what they were doing. Kids.
Yeah, well, that's nuts.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
But that's
a school.
Let's blow his mind some more. Are you ready?
Well,
an Austin, Texas school board approves radical LGBT sex ed curriculum.
Right.
This is real,
a great source.
and it's right. I don't care about Breitbart.
The facts are what matters, not the source.
But listen, whether you like the news source or not, you can go to this school and look at their curriculum. It's real, sir. Go look it up. This issue is widespread.
So the issue that Jay has is probably with the word radical, because that's what Breitbart probably added. But I'm going to tell you, the Texan News, the KXAN, which is a local news station, Austin ISD approves revised sex ed curriculum. They unanimously approved controversial sex curriculum. So yes, you don't like the source because the headline said approves radical LGBTQ. But this is a true story, and you can literally look it up on Statesman, Texas Scorecard, the Daily Texan. I'm looking at all the different sources right now. So take issue if you want with the title, but fact is, this is real. This is a real thing. And I know you're not a parent, and I'm not shaming anything about that. But fact is, parents right now are getting involved, and they're realizing that there are some real issues that they did not realize were actually happening in schools across the country because of a very odd woke agenda that most people don't even know is a problem right now.
This is from a Wisconsin school district. So parents are not entitled to know their kids' identities. That knowledge must be earned. Teachers are often straddling this complex situation. That must be earned. Bringing them into the world does not earn them that right. Taking care of them, nurturing them, paying for them, being there. Yeah.
All I'm going to say is
crazy.
Fuck around and find out. I'm that parent that will come straight up punch you in your face, bro. That's mine. More parents need to take that approach. I carried that kid for 9 months. I labored to work and pay for everything you have. You live under my roof. My DNA is running through your blood. So fuck around and find out. Try it if you want to. I will catch an assault charge. I will come knock your block off in your classroom in front of all these kids so they can see what you're doing is wrong and disgusting.
Let's work backwards from that, right? If a teacher does not have the right, or if a student cannot confide in a teacher or someone at the school, right? Then what are the effects of that, right? So if a kid can't come out to a teacher and confide in a teacher or a guidance counselor or something like that, then what are the effects of that? I'm curious what the dissenting voices here. I guess not. I'm asking everybody really, but sure.
I mean, I can't speak for every parent. I'm a parent that has open discussions with my children. My kids come home and tell me everything that's going on in the classroom. I think more parents need to take the approach to getting into their kids' business. I want to know what you're watching on YouTube. That's not your friend no more. I'm going to come to your classroom unannounced to see what's going on. So honestly, I don't think that these conversations, especially something as intimate as this, needs to be talked about with the teacher. And if a teacher does have a student come up to them about this, it's as simple as a phone call to a parent, not you taking the authority to have that conversation with my child. It's a quick fix, but because people are narcissistic and selfish, well, I should be able to do what I want to do. This is my classroom. And parents like me will say, fuck around and find out. Bottom line.
Remember those days? I mean, my mom used to come to I would be in class, not even knowing, and boom, my mom would come to the door and just sit down behind me.
Exactly.
I was like, fuck. Yeah, in third grade, I was like, fuck. No.
By the way,
No.
I looked up the radical Austin, Texas. Like the stuff for 3rd through 5th graders, there's nothing radical about it at all. I'm literally looking at the curriculum. There's nothing radical about it at all. To your point, Anthony.
What's
I
the
didn't like the term.
curriculum? Read
I mean,
one of the one of them.
It's like an 8-page PDF, like in blocks. It'd
Well,
be pretty hard to
what's-
read.
Then how do you
A
know
general
there's nothing
synopsis.
radical?
I mean, I'm reading it. I'm saying it's not great to read aloud. Like, I'll sit here and read this. I'm going to read the phone book too.
No,
Describe the
you can just
like,
paraphrase.
compare positive and negative ways friends and peers can influence relationships. Identify parents and other trusted adults they can talk to about relationships. Demonstrate positive ways to communicate differences in opinion while maintaining relationships. Define teasing, harassment, and bullying. Explain this is what's in the curriculum. Define sexual harassment and abuse. Explain why people tease or harass and bully others. Like, there's
So
not.
I
like,
have a question for
it
you.
gets-
How many pages is it? How many pages
like-
in totality?
Of the curriculum itself, hold please.
Yeah.
Hold please. Of the curriculum itself, it somewhere between 4 and 5. It breaks up a little bit.
Okay.
It breaks
I'm
up.
gonna
What
take
age
time
group
out
is
of
it
my
for?
day to read all of it and pinpoint where the disgusting parts are in the curriculum. And I'm
You're
gonna
not going to
post it on
find
Facebook.
anything.
So you
You're
can
not
see
going to
it.
find anything for the younger kids.
There's also mass language in a lot of these things.
math language. Is that what you said?
Masked language. They use language by opening it up so that you can discuss sexuality beyond the parameters of penis and vagina. You allow to discuss, well, why would someone make fun of someone else for having, for being gay? Is it because of the overarching societal feelings on what it means to be homosexual? What does that come from? Oh, it comes from the socially constructed dynamic of men and women and all this other stuff. What it's meant to do is open up the conversation to a point where you can start implanting these kinds of ideals into it, right? And these complex ideals. Pure speculation. This is this is what they're taught to do.
You're speculating.
Can you put the link to the exact bill in the private chat, and I'll get to it while
I'm literally looking at it on my computer, but I'm on my iPad.
Fuck around and find out. So
I'm going to tell you right now. Every source that I've looked at right now is including local media is saying that they are allowing them to talk about gender identity and sexual orientation from ages kindergarten to 8th grade. That is enough for me to say no to the bill.
You're talking about 3rd through 5th grade? Wait. Are we talking about Austin or Florida?
Austin.
Well, but the bill is in Florida, so
no, the bill is in this Austin.
Oh, you're talking about the education bill. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused between because the topic was the Florida bill, but now we're talking about Austin. I
was just trying to show that it's widespread. That's all.
I understand.
Right. Okay, so yeah, we're miscommunicating. All right, let's move on. Since we talk about fuck around and find out, I was gonna say Mike Tyson, but I wanna move because I haven't seen this. This is what I was really excited about. Because we're going to talk about the Trump speech. Suni, can you get that video pulled up for me if you can?
Yes, I can.
I'm going to Facebook Messenger to you, Russo. That's the only thing I can do
right
now.
Are you talking about the Florida bill? I've read the whole Florida bill. I was talking about
Austin.
Oh, okay, the Austin bill. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead. I have not watched this yet, so we're going to do a slight reaction to this. So go ahead.
Suni.
Do you want to lead into it before you do it?
Because I don't have the actual one. I only have the one I did.
But you posted it earlier, I thought, or a couple days ago.
No, I just posted this. I posted an article, but the actual video is this. I don't have the other video. I tried to find it, but I don't have it. Breaking news, everyone. Trump is still bragging about a vaccine that has injured, harmed, and killed tens of millions of people. Roll the clip.
Allegedly.
His achievements was getting the vaccine done in 9 months instead of 5.5 to 12 years. But the problem is, we saved tens of millions of lives all over the world, but I can't talk about it because our beautiful base, of which some of you are there, you get angry when we mention the word vaccine. Don't get angry. We did it in 9 months, less than 9 months, right? Less than 9 months. And frankly, a lot of people are living today because of that. So I'll talk about it. I think the other side actually poisoned people on it because they want to try and take credit. Remember when Biden said, he didn't come up with a vaccine, except he got a shot 2 months before he said that.
Come on now, y'all. Bruh.
What?
I thought you were talking about.
This was in, what's the city? It just happened a few weeks ago. He had a rally in
Delaware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talked about it.
But Suni, what about it's on your page and it says Trump is controlled opposition. It's the one where he says
he's talking about the trans thing. That's what
he's talking about teachers going behind parents' backs. Remember consent from the parents? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have that one too.
I thought that's what we were talking about. My bad.
I have that one.
Okay. So my reaction to that is he's become a yo-yo because he was doing a good job of moving away from that sentiment. And that was when I kind of lost my support, was when he was so gung-ho on this thing that I think is personally horrific. I know we know Jay is jabbed. We know that.
I can't even get into this with you. This gets into crazy town so fast when you guys start talking about vaccines. I don't even know. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on this topic.
So you can't. No. So you think? And go ahead and play this video, and then I'll go back to Jay.
Sure.
No teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent.
It's like somebody said, say transgender as much as possible.
Right?
I love the way you said that. Transgender.
It still means that teachers can teach it without our consent. That's what she's talking about.
So
Trump has had a lot of cringe takes, man.
Lately he's no up. But what did he say that was wrong? He said they shouldn't be able to teach it without parental consent, which I think is a gaffe. I don't think that makes a ton of sense, but I don't disagree. If parental essentially it's not parental consent, he really should be just saying parents should be teaching it to their kids, not teachers. But what in there said that teachers are okay teaching about transgenders?
Well, he's saying what everyone else has been saying. No teacher should have permission to talk to our kids about this. Well, no shit, Sherlock. They're still doing it. It's kind of like blowing hot air or speaking to your base and saying things that they're going to resonate with, and everyone's clapping like, woo, Trump said it, as if it changes anything. That was my overall point. Like, just like with this stupid vaccine shit, bro. You're blowing hot air.
I just think it was I don't think he said it perfectly, but I mean, that's the whole point of speaking, is saying what you believe, is giving people your belief system. That's to me, that doesn't bother me. The stuff on the vaccine bothers me, of course.
I think, like I told Suni, I said, I totally disagree with you. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. I think he said a factual thing. You need a parent's consent to do anything with a child, right? If you're going to teach your child something, yes, you should have your consent. However, Suni's point being that they often take advantage of these things, send home a bunch of paperwork in that first day of school folder. Next thing you know, you're signing away consent for them to teach transgenderism, or there's a teacher that's just going to start talking about it anyways, right?
Right.
But I go back to, and this goes into the last topic we were talking about, is where is the responsibility of the parents? Get involved, figure out what's being taught, read that curriculum, ask your child questions, teach your child what you want them to know. Don't rely on the school. Like, I don't give a shit if you want to put a whole form together that says I give consent for whatever. I don't care what it is. I don't even care if you talk to my kid about it, because my kid knows what I teach them, and it's consistent all the time. So I don't give a shit.
I'll be talking to my kids about the real, bro.
Right.
So we always have agreement in our panel, and fortunately today we do not, in terms of the Smackskination. So I'm going to start this because Jay thinks it's funny business that we think that it is. I don't feel like Trump's statement about it killing that thing was, that first one that Suni played was ridiculous. And again, the reason why we are in desperate need for a really solid Trump-like candidate, like a DeSantis or something like that. But I got to ask you, Jay, do you think that the vaccine did exactly what they thought it would?
No, of course not. But it also didn't think what you think it did. I get exasperated with this conversation so quickly because...
Have you seen any of Pfizer's data?
Yes. Yeah. You and I talked about this a little bit on social. Yes, I have. The way that anti-COVID vaccine people approach the COVID vaccine, it bothers me in the same way that people, I'm going to make a sort of a crude analogy, but it bothers me in the same way that people, it's too black and white. So of course it didn't do exactly what they thought it was going to do, because the vaccine mutated, right? Because we have different variants and things along those lines. I don't think anybody's going to argue that at the very least, that's
real quick to stop you, because that's misinformation. It didn't do what it was supposed to. It didn't do what it was supposed to do on the original strain that it was for. Just to be clear, but go ahead.
Well, which part that I said was misinformation?
You said that the reason it didn't work as well is because of mutations in the strain. That's not true. It didn't work on alpha even the way that they thought it would work on alpha. It actually just wore off in about 3 months. But again, go ahead.
So wait, it worked so in your opinion, it worked for 3 months? That's a radical admission from you.
No, I think it did the same thing as natural immunity would do. I think it had its positive effects after 14 days. And in that short window that it worked, I think it had a very similar effect as natural immunity, not as much as regular health. I do think that it provided some protection. Again, it was blatantly a choice, but we also, in that some protection, we didn't know any long-term effects. But go ahead, Jay, continue.
I don't even know what you want me to continue on. Like, I get very exasperated with this conversation because of this goes back to the idea, this is going to anger you, where folks like yourself think they're scientists. I know I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. All I can do is trust the people that I think of as experts, to trust data, to trust studies. I am not a scientist. As far as I know, nobody on this panel is a scientist. I might be wrong. Somebody here might be a scientist.
No,
I'm a scientist.
You can be a capitalist, Jay.
I'm a scientist. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jay, let me point this out, because the whole principle is behind this is the capitalist idea that you remove government and capitalism will fill the gap. I'm a capitalist. What is the number one most important thing all companies must carry to ensure they are going to behave well?
I don't know. It feels like a gotcha question. I have no idea.
Liability.
Yeah.
Liability is number one. That's how you ensure every company will behave properly, because they know they will get sued if they don't. They will lose everything.
Okay.
What is the one thing none of these pharmaceutical companies have that produce this thing have? What is the one thing they don't have?
Protection from being sued.
They don't have any liability. Yep. How can we think anything other than I can't trust you if you don't hold liability? I am a capitalist. I truly believe if the government got out of the pharmaceutical process, we would have way better pharmaceutical production. As long as liability exists. None of these companies have liability. I don't have to be a scientist to say I will not trust you if you don't have liability attached to your actions.
There's a difference between you not trusting somebody.
I don't have to know. You said I'm not a scientist. You said I don't have to. I have to be a scientist.
Kevin, let him respond.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I didn't say you needed a scientist to have a fucking opinion. You can have any opinion you want. What I'm saying is, to debate the efficacy of a vaccine without a level of expertise is an exercise in futility.
That's bullshit. Okay,
I disagree. I disagree.
So
go
even
ahead, Sunny.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sunny.
Even if I have a study by real scientists to speak on the efficacy, so if I'm using a study by scientists that says the efficacy rate is virtually the same with your natural immunity, what scientific degree do I need? There are scientists on both sides.
That's not what I'm saying, Sunny. I'm saying, yes, we can utilize studies. There's lots of different things we can look at, right? But to your point, scientists on both sides, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that there's science to this. Data is bless you. Data is data. My point is, I feel like a lot of these conversations are circle jerks, because regardless of what information bubble you're in, you're going to utilize the data, because none of us are data scientists or scientists or whatever, vaccine scientists. We're going to utilize whatever data we have available to us, or whatever study we looked at that backs up the opinion that we have, and argue with the people who don't.
Jay, can I ask you a question? When you've looked at the reason why you believe this, and again, I think people are free to think that if they want to take the vaccine, that's up to them.
Well, you know, I agree with you on that. I don't like mandates. I've never been for mandates.
I
We
get
agree
that.
on that. I don't
Fair
like
enough.
mandates.
So where
Fair enough.
you
Sorry.
came, and I appreciate that, where you came from in your findings, because you said not to look at data.
I don't have findings. I don't have any findings. I'm not a
So
scientist.
most of the people, including nurses and doctors, have told me when we go toe to toe, because again, apparently I'm not smart enough to read data, even though it's math, and it's actually very simple math. And also looking at Pfizer's own data, especially recently, but going back further, if you actually compare data to recommendations, and remember, they're two very different things. Data equals a recommendation. The recommendations often do not match the data since day one. And most of the doctors that you've listened to as experts that have been put out there that have said the efficacy, they were literally speaking on assumptions and based on their scientific opinion before the fact. Most of these doctors now still believe, because they are saying, just get the shot, get the shot. There is no longer data. And I'm probably going to, the overlords are going to be mad at this. There is no data proving safety beyond a shadow of a doubt. And there is no data proving efficacy as better than natural immunity. And there is no data that shows that it is safe for the first 14 days you take it and does not affect your actual immune system. These are things that all data sets will do. Recommendations are different because recommendations are typically paid for. That's just the way, because these doctors are working for the pharmaceutical industries. That's just the way recommendations work on all sides.
Sure.
And unfortunately, doctors don't have the time, because they're treating patients, to read the full data sets. I unfortunately have no life. And I've read these data sets. And the fact is, the numbers don't add up. And if you look at if you specifically, now that the Pfizer data has come out, in the very beginning, the numbers they said were seven adverse reactions in every million. That number is now down, especially in young males, to well under 1 in 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's dangerous. And and the thing is, that should be information that was provided to people. And if you wanted to take the risk.
Wait. Back up. Can you say that number again? I'm sorry. I think I heard you wrong.
It's under 1 in 10,000 is having a severe, if not deadly effect. 1 in 10,000, which again, this is not 1 in 10. I understand that, but I don't want, if you're going to tell me that as a healthy male that I have a chance of dying from COVID based on my makeup, my chances of dying from COVID are 0.001%. That is, by the way, equal to my risk of having the same adverse reaction. I would prefer to not have something in my body that does not have the same effect. And then for older people, they're not able to gauge how many of these heart conditions. I've talked about Kelly's grandfather having no heart problem, nothing, and being 90 years old. They can't pin his death on the jab, but he got the jab. He got COVID, not asymptomatic, and then ended up having a heart disease that flared up within a 2-month span. Again, it could be natural causes, but we don't know any of these things or any details, and none of it's going to be attributed. So fact is, based on their own research that they wanted to hide for 76 years, which I believe, as though you understand, is truth. They did not want it coming out.
I do.
And then it came out. With all of these things, you can't tell me there isn't an eyebrow raise to the manipulation that has happened on why these vaccinations are so good. They were rushed, and they are apparently not safe, but not super dangerous. It should have been beyond a choice at this point.
Well, again, I agree with you about the choice factor. I've never been for mandates. I don't think mandates are necessary. Yeah, like I don't, I haven't seen. I would like to look at the data. This 1 in 10,000 severe or deadly. I have a feeling that's probably not true. That's an insane number if that's true.
Why would it be insane? There's no liability. Why should they care how many people have an adverse reaction? It's not like they're going to get sued.
No, I'll tell you why. And this is an argument I've made in the past, I think, with Anthony, maybe brought it on this platform. Because companies don't tend to do well when they kill their customers, right? Generally speaking, they don't. No, they don't. No company sets out to put out or mass release a shit product. Sometimes it happens, right? But literally no capitalist company, no company in a capitalist society is going to go, let's make a really shitty product and see how many of it we can sell. It doesn't work.
That's fair.
Doesn't
You're
work.
right.
Doesn't
you're
work.
very right.
I don't
Unless
think-
your rights are contingent on the consumption of said product.
And I also don't think they're killing. I don't think they're necessarily killing that many. 1 in 10,000 is not that drastic of a number.
That's
but
pretty drastic.
That is.
I
1 in
agree.
10,000
But
is super
that's not
drastic.
from a losing a consumer basis. It's not. But from a basis of say 51 and whatever the numbers. I haven't talked about this in several weeks. But look at the numbers of people that are having myocardial infarctions. Look at people that are now needing other support and other pharmaceutical drugs and all these random things that are being approved from the same companies. And I think you and I talked about the rhymes with schmectin. We talked about, I think that was one of the last conversations we had was, why would Merck talk about the fact that that's not why they made it? But then you just look one page deeper and you realize Merck is actually helping produce the actual vaccine, which makes them a hell of a lot more money. Ivermectin is only 12 cents a pill for them to produce. Like, they don't make any money off it. So again, I get what you're saying. That's a bad business model. But in the end, if people are not necessarily dying, but getting pretty damn close, you've just created more and more consumer usage. And fact is, they are getting government funding for these shots. It's not like they're free. This is a multi-billion, hundreds of billions of dollars going into this. And they're even getting funding to give it to other countries.
This isn't a binary issue, though. So this is a problem that happens with a lot of arguments. It's like you can only look at it one way or the other. I think all of these things can be true. Do we think that these companies are incentivized because they're getting guaranteed government dollars to keep producing these and send them to other countries? Of course, there's money involved here. I mean, again, they are in business. Of course, are there bad actors involved in this process? Of course there are. But that doesn't mean a lot of the things that you have said it means. You can think a lot of, it's the same thing we were just talking about with Elon Musk. I can like some of what he does and hate some of, I don't know what's so funny, Sony, and some of what he does, and I can hate some of what he does. I can think there's bad actors within this process without thinking that this whole thing was a scam to begin with.
I don't know what's funny either. I do think it was a scam to begin with. And before we figure out what
you know what's funny? It looks like you're in the principal's office, by the way, Russo. I don't know what that door is behind you.
The only place I could find internet. I'm at a college. Anyways.
What college are you at?
I'm at Tarleton. Let's see. Don't forget.
The hell even is
so this is the last topic we'll talk about vaccines. Because again, I think, you don't think there's anything nefarious at play. And going back to Kevin's comment about liability, when there isn't any anymore. So let's not forget things like Prilosec, which was one of the big payouts. Pfizer has paid the largest fine in history for something that was rushed out, billions of dollars paid out. So they clearly make mistakes. And that was,
they didn't mean to do that, though. They didn't mean to do that.
But there was liability.
I don't disagree that they meant to, but they did mean to cover up the information once they realized it was hurting people.
Yes.
Sure.
So, and that's the big thing here. So this is the industry I work in, FDA approvals. So when it comes to this, one of my questions for you, Jay, since we removed so much testing out of this approval process, do you think that this vaccine, since you're in support of it, which is cool, that's fine, do you think it should go through the full approval process here soon, since we are now moving on from COVID? Or do you think we're just good with it?
I think that's a pretty complicated question. It's not one I've ever thought about before. I mean, if we are moving on from COVID, I'm not sure I understand what the point of it would be. You may have an answer to that question, but I don't have one. You know what I mean? If it's not going to be needed anymore, I don't know why we would waste time when there's other problems to solve.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I say that is if you really had faith that this thing actually really isn't causing any problems, we should actually force it through that process. And
I don't think it's not causing no problems, by the way. I mean, like, it's obvious. I don't believe everything that's on. Some people take theirs. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's probably multiple ways to pronounce it. People take that like it's the Bible.
Yeah.
But like self-reported, things without causality can just be taken as fact, which is ridiculous.
Hey, so
so
can I
I
ask
don't
you a
believe a lot of
question
that.
then?
You
Because
can,
I
of
agree with you.
course.
So then we can say, the same for the outrageous numbers that they said COVID death related, right? The data coming out about that. If we can't directly say that jabs are killing people, then we can't directly say that COVID killed all these people either.
I agree. I agree with you. And they finally started pulling some of those numbers back. I mean, I think that we're sort of past the point of people wondering why they were attributing. I shouldn't say fully past it, but we've started to see organizations, hospitals, things of that nature going, well, actually, people died of it, had COVID and died of this, et cetera. They started pulling some of that stuff back like 6 months ago, maybe a little less than that, 4 or 5 months ago. I'm sure we've all seen that. I completely agree with you.
I say
it's going to be years before we get this data.
So would you be willing to say, based on our early conversations on all this, that maybe just maybe, I'm not going to say that, do you think we were fully right? Do you think that we were maybe onto something a little bit more than you maybe thought in the very beginning?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll tell you why.
Denial
No,
was like.
I'll tell you why.
Denial is a hell of a drug.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because it's you're not a soothsayer, okay?
How dare you?
The smirk on your face. Sorry. The smirk on your face, Jay, is saying enough. But go ahead.
No. You're not a soothsayer. There's been a couple of things in terms like efficacy, for example, right? As efficacy, I don't think anybody here would argue, if you argue that there was some efficacy at the beginning, and I think we all agree that efficacy waned, right? As the virus mutated, efficacy waned.
Don't say mutated.
You can't.
Go ahead.
Why? Of course it mutated. Do you deny that basic fact?
Efficacy waned. I just said this earlier. Efficacy waned not because of the mutation. It's effectiveness.
No. It's
I understand. Yeah. I understand, but hang on a second. But the virus mutated, correct? Anyone gonna argue at that point that there are different variants of the virus?
The flu.
Is anyone gonna argue that?
Yeah, I agree.
No, it doesn't even exist. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I understand your opinion is that the efficacy wasn't where it should be to begin with, and the efficacy waned greatly when the virus mutated. Do you disagree with the statement?
No,
the efficacy of the vaccine got worse as the virus mutated. I'm not asking you to agree that that's the only reason the efficacy wasn't good. I'm asking if you agree with the statement that the efficacy of the vaccine got worse as the virus mutated.
Nope.
The efficiency, the effectiveness waned. Yes, yeah, and the actual, yeah.
Sure.
It just waned with time.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I think it waned for a lot of different. Again, I'm not a scientist. You can't, in my opinion, have state something as fact when scenario A is happening, and then if part of your opinion comes true in scenario F, go see. I told you. No. This is why I don't agree. This is why, because
what have I said that's wrong?
I mean, I just spelled it out. I just spent 90 seconds spelling it out.
No, I said all those things from the very beginning. I even said in the very beginning, I said there is a purpose for some people to take the vaccine if they want to, and I think that there might be some effectiveness. But
I don't remember you ever saying that. I believe you. I just don't remember it.
No, I did. I said, but the thing is, there's long-term risks that we don't get to weigh into. This is why I would never suggest taking it. Is the long-term risk, and fact is, it's not as effective as they say, which we could have seen from day one. And I did the math very early on when Biden said that barely anybody goes to the hospital and barely anybody gets it. And he said 1 out of 5,000 people per day. And I realized that number was accurate. Problem is, when you stack 1 out of 5,000 people per day, guess what you get after a calendar year? You get the exact same number of unvaccinated people that got it in the first 400 days. So fact is, across the board, it was a misinformation campaign. And from day one, there has not been a single thing that I have said that has been off. If you can find something that I've said that is wrong, I would love to hear it.
I'll spend the next week pouring through your videos and posts.
But here's the last thing. I even said, I go, I don't think the vaccine is hurting people like 1 in every 100 or 100. I go, I would like to know. Maybe I even use the number. Maybe it's 1 in 10,000. Maybe it's 1 in 100,000. But we should have accurate research, and we're never going to have perfect numbers. But we can look at the Pfizer data and know that 1 in 10,000 is there, and it's even higher in younger males that are harm-free. We were misinformed at the efficacy, plain and simple. And that's what I said from the beginning. And yes, things change. But fact is, Jay, I haven't been wrong. And most of our panel has not been wrong about anything having to do with the vaccine. And yet people still look at us like we are absolutely insane. Like you were at the start of this conversation.
It's because you think there's nefarious intentions from the get-go, which is insane.
Money.
It's not that there's nefarious intentions. It's that the protections aren't in place to prevent, to ensure good intentions. Like, it's not that I'm saying every capitalist company goes out there and says, I'm going to put out the worst product possible. One of the major factors for why capitalist companies ensure their product is good is because if it's not, they can get sued into oblivion. And then when you have the government coming out saying you're going to have a passport, or you're going to lose your rights, or you're not going to be able to go here, or here without it, and there's also no liability attached. If there was liability attached and it came out in the same time frame, I'd be a lot less skeptical. But they removed it.
I know Suni wants to say something, but the last thing, Jay, take away our thought process that it's nefarious, because that is not something that we can prove, and I understand that. Take away that one statement. Besides that, can you tell me?
It's not the one statement. It's the platform with which your entire opinion is based.
Okay, but our facts are correct.
I don't know what all your facts are. We'd have to do a whole other show based on all of your facts.
Okay, so
I only
again,
have
this is the original question. You're saying that you don't think that can you without a shadow of doubt say that I am not in any way from our original conversation several months ago maybe have a little bit more information than you thought I did, and maybe my research was maybe not as bad and not as can you say that my basis, take away the nefarious part, my basis on what my overlying and what are as a group overlying opinion on the vaccine and on the overall medical perspective of COVID since day one, including the numbers being daily shifted backwards on how many there were. Could you say that maybe we were not as big of a conspiracy theorist as you originally thought?
I will give you on the numbers, because there were people dying of things that weren't COVID and they happen to have COVID. I'll give you that for sure. You were definitely right about that.
I'll take the win I can get. Suni, go ahead. You have the video I think you have to pull up.
Oh, I was just look. Your freedom of speech has been restored. He officially owns Twitter.
But he just
come out.
This just came out.
Yeah,
He
this just
sold
came
$4
out.
billion in Tesla
the
stock.
company just set record profits. So
He had to come up with the cash because it was the Twitter deal was a cash deal, so he had to actually leverage stocks for it. So.
There's nothing wrong with him.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Are you guys so fucking sensitive over Elon Musk?
Oh no, I wasn't being sensitive.
Twitter.
I thought that the assertion was like somebody was saying it was weird that he sold the stock.
No,
like,
he bought Twitter. That's all I'm saying.
No. I was okay. My bad.
All right, we have one final topic. Let's see, what do we got? What was last?
The coach.
That's right. Coach losing his job, Supreme Court. I think we can touch.
We
on
can
that.
swap that with the police video if you want. I don't mind.
Let's swap that. Let's change it up. First off, Mike Tyson. Who thinks Mike Tyson? We'll make this quick. Who thought Mike Tyson was in the right to beat the living ever?
I did. Fuck around and find out.
Right?
Suni, you need a T-shirt.
Making accountability great again. And it sounds like the guy had a rap sheet and a record a mile long, and this is just he's a drunken idiot. So
yeah.
Kudos to the champ. What else?
Was one of those stupid kids in the classroom that kept talking shit until he got into the gym and got his face beat in.
And he looked so pathetic after he got punched, and it just felt so good to see that.
Mean.
Why would you do that? Of all people, why would you?
I'm gonna pester Mike Tyson.
I think the guy was on something. I think that's what they said. He was on.
He was
something.
on LSD, but he was either on that Molly or some shrooms where he couldn't shut up, and he was just like, "I'm gonna talk to this guy, and he's gonna like it."
I'm going to talk to the guy known for having cement for hands.
Right.
It's not talk. He was talking shit. Like, it wasn't just normal talk.
It's so dumb.
I would love to have a conversation with Mike Tyson. Absolutely.
A part of it had to be he was hoping to be able to sue.
Sure. It sounds like he's done that in the past.
Yeah.
It sounds like
really?
And not exactly in that instance, but he has had lawsuits on other people for he's a shit show. And he also spent, I think, like a cumulative 3 or 4 years in jail. Moving on. Coach loses his job due to prayer at halftime. We'll talk about it. The Supreme Court's hearing it. If it ever comes up in case, we'll talk more about that and religious freedoms, so that we're not going to cover that tonight. And Suni, let's look at this cop video, and then we will call it a night. We've gone a little long.
Sure. Can you guys see it?
You make it a little bigger.
Make it bigger.
That's what she said.
Zoom in.
Not to you.
I can't make it bigger. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Hey, hands! You want to stop? Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! I'm doing this. Hey! Shots fired. Shots fired.
Oh, he sounds so disappointed.
It kind of sounds, I think he wanted suicide by cop is what he wanted. He got what he wanted. He's like, I'm doing this.
That's a real hands up, don't shoot.
Justified or unjustified?
Unjustified.
Unjustified.
I had a hard time
100%.
seeing it.
These cops had bad training.
I'll send it to you, Jay.
I'm on an iPad. Did he have a gun?
No, he had a vape pen.
His hands were up in the air.
Then it's
He had a
totally
vape pen.
unjustified.
Yeah.
But I do think it would be a little bit different if he would have ferociously lunged. I still don't think it's okay because she had enough distance.
Did you just
but
say
there's
Kaecey?
nothing. What's that?
I said Ben White if he was white.
He is white.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, that's why no one's
I've never
caring
seen
about
the
it.
video, and I'm struggling to
tell.
see with how small it was, so I couldn't.
That's what she said.
Oh,
God,
Suni said,
He's either white or Hispanic.
Suni said that one cop deployed the taser.
Yeah,
and
the male cop had the taser.
Like
You hear
that's
it.
crazy. That's crazy. That's totally unjustified. That's shitty training. Now I don't know if Suni's posting said should cops be women or women be cops or whatever. I'm like, I don't think that has anything to do with it. They were both idiots.
I do.
Yeah.
So
The male cop decided to use his first line of defense, which would be the taser. And they're not communicating. He shoots the taser and she shoots 4 times. What the fuck?
So how did it end up with the scenario?
She had that fuck around and find out mentality.
Sorry, what?
How did it end up with him outside the vehicle? Did they pull him out, or did he just get?
No,
it?
he didn't get pulled over. So this was a 911 call where the guy said, "Hey, look, I'm feeling suicidal. I do have a weapon in my car, but I'm not trying to harm cops. I'm not armed." And he says it's on a 911 call. Hopefully they'll release it soon so people can see. And that cop actually showed up after the first officer, which is a lady, was already dealing with him. I don't know exactly for how long, but he was walking at her with the vape pen in his hand. And apparently the cops is going to be investigated, but I don't know, man. This goes back to my earlier point when we were talking about the Grand Rapids shooting. In my opinion, on these shootings, these isolated events, it appears that cops just have the license to kill.
Yep.
Even if they're assessing a situation completely wrong, which is what she did. I don't think she did her job effectively and properly at all.
No.
But comply and don't die is the going phrase. It's a blanket statement applied to literally everything. This dude is clearly suicidal. I do think it is suicide by cop. I'm not going to say it's not. I think he had every intention of dying today, especially calling 911 and saying you're suicidal. But that doesn't mean that this cop was justified in the eyes of the law. And I hope she goes to jail. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, she shouldn't oblige him because he wants suicide by cop.
Right.
What state was this in?
This is Arizona.
Of course, look up Ryan Zimmerman as well. Arizona cops love killing people that are not trying to attack them.
Yeah,
was it Philando Castile?
Ryan Whitaker too.
Yeah, no, Ryan Whitaker is who I was talking about. There was the other one that was the hotel in Phoenix where the guy was on his
Daniel
Daniel Schaefer. Yep.
Schaefer.
What is with Arizona cops just loving killing civilians?
I don't know, bro.
All right, we should get Tatum on here and ask him.
I'm thinking he'll probably do a video about that one.
He will because I posted it.
Yeah, but he's gonna wait. I think he's gonna wait until all the stuff comes out because
this happened. This happened last month.
Yeah, this is.
But it's not news.
Yeah.
It's not news.
It's not news because he's white.
Yes, white
That's
people
why
are
no
allowed
one's
to be killed
pulling
by
his
the
rap
cops.
sheet either. I'm waiting for all the conservatives to pull his rap sheet. I'm waiting.
Oh,
Go ahead and
let me get on that. Let me get on it.
Who knows who Kelly Thomas is? I've mentioned him before. Like, yeah.
But here's the deal. I don't think it was suicide by cop. The guy, if he had a gun in his car, it'd be suicide by cop if he grabbed the gun and held it like that. This was just an egregious error by a cop. And I don't necessarily think that it had to do with male, female. I think there is times where a simp male officer that shouldn't be a cop will make the same mistake. Lately, we've been seeing a lot of female police officer mistakes.
It has been released. Send that to me, Gabe. Sorry to cut you off, Russo. Can you send me the audio, Gabe, please?
So there's a drastic difference between this shooting and the one that just happened in Grand Rapids. That was an actual tussle, and we all kind of had a slight disagreement and slight agreement on that one. But this one was just a blatant. This was just a blatant. To me, this was a cop that has wielded their power in a way that is murder.
So Russo, you don't think him calling police to begin with and saying he's suicidal contributed to how he was acting? I'm not saying that she should have shot him, but you're walking up on police officers who already have a gun pointed at you. You know, one or two things are going to happen. You're either going to get tased or you're about to get taken out. Like you have to have that thought pattern when you're going into these things.
Why does he have his
so
hands
what's
up?
making you say that it's like, why don't you think it's suicide by cop is my question.
I think suicide by cop is when you have some kind of weapon. I just think it's a different variation. I think just because somebody is suicidal, I don't know. I just see it differently. I see a guy that's so fucked up in the head. He called the police. He said he didn't mean harm to police. He is at a point where he is. I see it differently. I do. It's suicide by cop is when you're like, fuck it, I'm going down in blazes. I'm pulling out my gun, see what happens.
That's fair.
This guy is literally
provide
just
a threat.
That's
something.
fair.
Yeah, provide a threat. He did. Again, if he lunged and he said, even if he didn't have a weapon, he goes, fuck it, and he jumped in. Suicide by cop.
Yeah,
this
that's
guy
fair.
is slowly walking forward. So again, that's just my opinion. I think I'm a big believer in comply.
No,
but
he
vape-
also said, as he was walking up, he said, "All right,
This
I'm
is
gonna do
happening.
this," or "This
I'm
is
gonna do
happening,"
this.
or
This is
something.
happening.
Yeah. So I think
So
that's
this-
what.
I didn't hear that.
He
Yeah,
didn't
he
have a
said it.
gun. They can't handle him without it.
A vape.
Taser.
A vape cannot
He
look
did.
like a gun. I'll go get my vape. I'll be back.
Again,
It-
Kelly
this
Thomas
is
was killed
happening,
because he
man.
had an orange in his hand.
It could be just a really, really not great attempt at suicide by cop that somehow worked because the officer was so poorly trained.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it was just it shouldn't have worked. You know what I mean? He didn't. To Anthony's point, normally there are people who sort of on the attack, and this guy was fucked up. So I guess I see what you're saying. Like, it's not your typical suicide by cop, but maybe it's just like a really poor attempt at one that because this officer was so poorly trained,
After
was
hearing
actionable.
the audio, I switched. I was on the side with Russo of saying I don't think this was suicide by cop, but then I just muted and turned on the audio and listened to him, and he was really fearless with the cops and approaching them, and so he wasn't doing any forceful actions like you're talking about, Russo, but that seemed like his intent. It definitely does.
So that's fair, and I think and again, I could be down with either side on that, but the ultimate thing is
I don't think it was the right decision on the officer's
it's a
side by any
horrible
means.
decision. So
yeah.
Did you guys see that cop that got shot in San Diego on the side of the highway? And the guy that shot him was Asian. Pause for reaction. And he literally was being I guess these Samaritans pulled over this gigantic dude, jumps out of his car and gets the guy and holds him at knife point until the police get there. And even when the police got there, he was holding his knife over this dude crazy. I think the cop is still alive, but he shot this guy when he came up to his car.
old limper coming up. All right.
Yeah, it makes me sad
getting
watching
wild.
you come back in like that.
Yeah, Asians took
All
an
right.
L.
It's about time.
You're right, Gimp?
It's been since World War II.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because Sunni, I get this all the time. People are like, you only talk about when it's a black guy. No, I know. Here, I talked about the Asian guy.
What Asian guy? The
Asian guy. We talked about an Asian guy and a white guy.
The shot the cop in San Diego.
Okay, this is a vape. All right. Now there are variations.
It's
of
a
vapes.
box of a vape.
Yeah, it's a box, but there are different
what they say.
variations of what these things look like.
I think that's more of a dildo than anything.
That's disgusting. I don't know.
Really?
What woman will want something that thin?
Properly motivated, anything can be a dildo.
Abe Lincoln said that, I'm pretty sure.
Little purse one.
You guys are gross, bro.
Well, now that's all right. I think we're about ready to wrap up. Jay, maybe we might shift Truth Tuesdays to make sure we can include Jay on occasion when he's got some free time. So I enjoy it. And
I liked having Jay.
At one point,
I'm sorry, I'm so mad.
Someday Jay will go.
Happy to be back.
Jay will maybe one day.
We got to talk about the indigenous people with Jay.
Right.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not that liberal. I'm really not that liberal.
No, you're not. You're
this is
very
what Suni
reasonable.
and I were laughing about. Is I said I really wanted to. I came into this thinking I was going to hate Jay because he was going to be this really crazy liberal, and I like him. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff.
He's classically liberal.
Yeah. Well, then I like
that's
him.
what I said.
I like
I'm kind of classically liberal.
No, you are not.
I'm not even a Democrat. I'm a registered
Russo, when you were in my comment section talking about being a hybrid voter, I'm a little bit Republican, I'm a little bit Democrat. Bro, every time you speak.
Every time.
Oh,
what a cliffhanger. What a cliffhanger. Oh, there
you froze right before your statement.
I did.
Go ahead.
Every time you speak, Russo.
I was like, why did you finish the sentence?
Well, Russo's a hybrid, and I want to understand how you're a hybrid.
He's non-binary.
You speak very conservative. No, I'm not binary. Russo picks a side.
No,
I'm not binary at all.
Because the reason I say that I don't call myself a classical liberal. Well, I call myself a constitutional liberal because I do believe in the Constitution. I believe in freedom.
I also believe in the Tooth Fairy.
I believe in certain things that I know a lot of our audience might not like that I do. In some ways, and I don't typically talk about this, but to answer the question, I have some freedom, your body, your choice beliefs to a certain extent. I think that I'm not fully opposed to the heartbeat bill, but I do think it maybe could use a week or two past.
Murder.
I get it. And I get that. I get that. And that's one of the areas. I'm also pro gay marriage. And I do believe there's a lot of things that I am I believe in just free. I don't let people do what they want. I believe in acceptance. And not celebration. I get it. I know you disagree, but I'm just saying that's why I consider myself a constitutional liberal or in some ways a classical liberal, but I vote predominantly Republican. I'll never say that I'm part Democrat. I think if I said that was wrong. I said there's liberal beliefs that I hold, but there's almost 0% Democrat that I
So do me a
vote.
favor, right? Just to challenge your belief, do me a favor, please. Read The Anatomy of the State. And I recommended this book to Kaecey
there
as
you
well.
go.
Read Anatomy of the State, and then look into Aleister Crowley. Do as thou will, because that's literally.
I recommended Anatomy of the State to you. I've said
I'm not
Anatomy of the
promoting
State.
Satanist shit. I'm talking about the ideology of do what thou wilt. You have
Aleister
to learn how to
Crowley
compartmentalize information.
Aleister Crowley was a known Satanist. I'm not saying you're promoting Satanist shit. I'm saying we're worried about Satanists.
No, I'm telling him. He just said, I believe people should, do what you want. So I'm giving him literature to look into.
As long as you're not harming other people. As long as you're not harming other people. Again, I'm just saying this is why I refer to myself as a moderate. I'm a very passionate moderate that is predominantly a Republican voter. What is this?
You're a radical centrist.
Oh, we got a better video of this?
This is a 911 call.
We don't need to do the whole 6 minutes. Jay, really quick. Jay, I got a question for you because you said something earlier and I piqued my thing. Kevin sneezed and you said bless you. and for anyone that sees your social media and you got the Darwin thing and the biting and the thing. So as somebody that are you agnostic or atheist? We've had the religious
I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist.
So why do you say bless you? And I appreciate it. I appreciate that you said that. But
it's out of politeness. I mean, I don't think anybody who says bless you actually means it in the way that it was. I don't think when you like someone who regardless of your belief level in God, no one means it the way that it was. I mean, people started saying God bless you because they were worried that either your soul could come out of your mouth when you sneezed or that a demon could come in. Nobody believes that. So I don't care what level of faith you have. Nobody is saying it by what the meaning of it, how the meaning of it originated. So it's just polite. It's just a polite thing to say. Like, yeah,
I had no
nobody
idea
means it that way.
like if
Yeah,
you're a loud sneezer, does that mean you have more like devilish ways about you?
Sure.
Like, the
My
louder
soul
you sneeze, the
legitimately
more-
leaves my body every time.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I guess
yeah,
I won't be
Kate-
seeing you in heaven then.
Yeah, no, you won't. No, you won't be seeing anyone in heaven because it's not there.
No.
Aww.
Oh,
That's
okay.
so
I'll just
sad.
wave down to you in the pits of hell.
Kaecey has to roll out with his kids. We're gonna wrap up.
I have to go too. I have to go also. I have
Okay,
work
so
to
Jay,
do.
I'll let you finish. I'll let you do your final comments. And by the way, for anybody out there, if you don't see me next week, just know that I have had some death threats against me from everybody's favorite character, Shane Sleeper. So just on the lookout. I am carrying right now. I mean, not in this library, just to be clear. But just so you know, if you don't see me, call Shane Sleeper. Anyways, Jay, give your final words.
I don't have any final words after hearing that. That sucks. And people are assholes. And don't harm anybody. And don't threaten my friend Anthony. That's my final words.
Yeah.
Love it. Jay, we'll see you again. Maybe we'll shift this around to maybe Thirsty Thursdays or something like that. I like Thursdays.
Love it. All right, guys.
Take it easy.
Thank you for joining. Anthony, what state are you in?
Texas.
They don't allow concealed carry on college campuses?
They might. I just don't want to freak anybody
I'm
out.
in Colorado and I'm allowed to carry on my campus.
I have it in my car.
Did you guys hear what he just said?
What?
No.
He said,
I don't want
wanna
to freak anybody
anyone
out.
That was so liberal of you.
I don't want to say it out loud. It doesn't mean I'm not carrying, but whatever.
You know what it is? It's the statistic. He's on a school campus. He's white with a gun. It's not a good look. You know what I mean?
I got a Let's Go Brandon hat. It's terrible.
You are a starter kit for a white supremacist. Oh my goodness.
So to give the very you
like
guys
the
know who
next Kyle
Shane Sleeper
Rittenhouse.
is. Most of you guys do. He comes on every like 6 months with a new name. He makes comments. Now he's called Kelly's Spa. He threatened the 17-year-old girl that worked there, not her directly, but was like, I'm looking for Kelly. And then Anthony needs to get a bullet to his head. I'm like, oh, this fucking guy. So he said it also in a group where I'm speaking for a veterans event. He went in there and said that I am a child sex offender and that I traffic children. Fortunately, they, of course, thought he was insane. And so needless to say.
Well, he called me a nigger, so let's know.
He did. Yeah, he doesn't like Sunni either.
Wow, sounds like a wonderful human being, honestly. Like,
well, the reason why this all started is because I didn't have his back after he worked for me for several years, because he came to me a year later after he stopped for being weird and all of a sudden tried to accost another male employee or another male independent contractor. And I was like, maybe I can't hire him again. And he apparently got raped by men he was working with and wanted me to stick up for him because I had a powerful voice in the industry and my company Be the Change had just started, to which I said, I know nothing of this. I'm not staking my reputation. And then he said, it's funny. I think he originally did like Trump, by the way, weird. But he then said that he wished the same thing that happened to him would happen to my daughter when she was a newborn. So with that said, that was the end of that conversation. And then every 6 months, he has a new Facebook profile. You guys have probably seen him on the page, and he's absolutely nutso. He's crazy. And we've been dealing with that. But again, I don't really care. Like, he's not going to do anything. He lives in Chicago, but it'd be great as a felon that, we'd be able to make sure he goes back to jail. But because Chicago is so overwhelmed and staffed, they can't deal with this shit. So thanks a lot. But now that he called, they might be willing to do something. I've been talking to Chelly, and hopefully I can try to whatever. So
all I'm saying, fuck around and find out.
I should at one point I should not dox, but maybe like half dox because I have phone numbers and stuff like that. But anyway,
it's not doxing if you give it to us privately.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not doxing.
Oh, then I won't post it.
And it's not doxing if we reach out to other doxers that don't care about catching a charge.
I have a doxerate, by the way.
I know a ton of them.
I'll just give
I know people on the south side of Chicago. That's where I'm from. So let me know.
Yeah. We can go ahead and make that happen, Russo. Just say the word.
Right. They're all
We are
about
just
to
kidding.
walk around and
This
find
is all
out it's
jokes.
Southside.
This is
Talk about
nothing but
white-
jokes.
I know. Talk about white privilege, though. This guy
Motto is fuck around and find out.
Yeah, right. He threatened to shoot up a gay club as a gay guy, and he's a felon for it. Yet somehow he never had to spend hard time. They screwed up. He ended up getting squeaked out of the system.
Well, I thought that only happened to black people. Huh.
It happens there.
It only matters when it happens to black people, Suni. It's a difference.
Thank you.
Anyway, so
all
that's
right,
my
folks.
week. And sorry I didn't call you, Barbara. Yeah, yesterday it's been a hectic week. So, and the 17-year-old girl was traumatized. By the way, I was like, "It's fine, trust me, it's fine. It's fine." Anywho, final words.
Final
How
words.
can I help you?
Oh, that's the
Hey,
video.
I'm at.
I was
Catch
like, what
me.
is that?
I was wondering.
Sorry, I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't know it was on the
That's fine.
screen.
I'll put it in the back. We get to find that. Maybe we'll watch that 911 call afterwards. Anyways, Mo, final words.
No, I mean, you know what it is. Follow me on the gram. Let's talk, darling. That's all I gotta say. If you want some fire commentary on the Johnny Depp trial, because I am not talking about politics at all right now. That is my life. That's all I care about. Is the best thing I've ever seen. Follow me.
Good.
You know what you did in my household, Mo? You have gotten my husband enthralled in this shit to the point where he was like,
dude, it's wonderful. We'll talk
why are you
about
not
it
talking about Johnny Depp? And I'm like, because I don't give a shit about celebrity. Like, I don't care. And he's like, this is for men's rights. What are you talking about? I was like, are you really gonna get on the men's rights train right now?
Let's go.
This is
men's
all
rights.
About, this is all about repeal the 19th. Okay,
He's driving me freaking nuts. I was like, bro, don't unfollow her page right now.
This is the greatest soap opera ever made. Like watching the lawyer say hearsay
Objection.
to himself was the greatest thing I've ever said. When the judge goes, "You can't say hearsay. It was your question, you dumbass." God, it's so good.
I don't know. When I saw him hop out the car, a little tipsy, I was like, I'm not watching this. He looks
Dude, did
drunk
y'all
as
see?
hell
Did
hopping
y'all
out
see
that
the?
car.
Did you guys see the Hispanic dude testifying yesterday that was like vaping in his car, and he was just like, dude, that guy did not give a fuck. He was just like, yeah. He's like, I don't remember. He didn't remember shit.
Kevin, say your final words. You get out of here, and we're pulling the plug, but slowly apparently. It's a slow
Y'all can find me as always at the Cruise Fair. I'm actually getting more active on Twitter for some weird reason. I guess I hate myself. Otherwise, you can find me. My radio show every morning is podcasted on Apple Podcasts 1360. The Common Nonsense with Kevin LaRusso, talking about all
Because
the
Elon
stuff
Musk
going
is
on.
your savior. It's all right. We all
He's my
understand.
Lord and Savior. Praise be to Elon.
White people feel so vindicated. They're like, finally.
I'm just saying it's
gonna get out of jail.
about damn time an African American owns a social media
That's
company
what
in this
it's about.
country. Okay,
I'm gonna go ride my 2014 Tesla on the way out of here. Celebrate.
Sweetie wants to,
But,
Sweetie wants to
all
debate
right.
that.
As always,
Hey,
peace
look,
and
you
love
wanna
is the
drive
way
a Tesla
forward,
and
y'all.
Have a kill switch implemented. Go for it, buddy.
I've got other cars.
I heard if you talk crap on Elon Musk, it drives you off a cliff. So just be careful.
True. It could get real ugly.
right,
and for
y'all,
those
I
of
love
in
you.
Texas, later, Kevin. Reminder: if you guys are around Mo, if you got nothing to do on Saturday, come on over to Fort Worth. Kelly will be there. My mom's probably going to be there, and then I think some of our Dallas sites. It's at 11 o'clock. Doors open. But we go live from noon to 1. It's just a couple hours on Saturday. So first 10 people.
I'll see if I can make it.
Brandon hats. You, of course, Bo, you can of course have one. But yes.
I cannot make it.
All right.
Soon you won't be able to make it, but if anybody else can, and the bar is hilarious. It's called Your Mom's House. They are a fun bar. I believe as though the owners are definitely on our side. As one of the owners, I saw him. We were at Joe Rogan together, so we're on the same team. Good talk. Great comments tonight. Thank you guys. Have a great evening. Suni, final words. You're taking us out.
Fuck around and find out. You know, parents need to take that approach, and I think people in general need to take that approach because like Mike Tyson said, you guys have gotten away with talking reckless on the internet without getting punched in the face for it. That's all I gotta say.
Mhm.
And I'm Black and
Fuck
I'm not
around.
oppressed. Thanks for tuning into my TED Talk.
Fuck around and find out.
I'm Black.